And we are live. We have a very special guest tonight, Jakob Sanderson, along with my co-host, Ferris. We are going to do a little rookie draft and then hop into a BBM after if we have time. So hop in here and let's have a good... Fellas, how's it going tonight? How's your week been so far? Jakob, thanks so much for hopping on. I know you guys know each other in real life and you guys have met in person, but nice to finally meet you on the interwebs.
Likewise. Pleasure to be on with you guys. Favorite time of the year?
So my first question, Ferris, how's it going, brother?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me on again. And Jakob, nice to see you. Been a bit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Pleasure.
So, Jakob, my first question is how many drafts are you on the clock in at this very moment? Because
I've been monitoring pretty well today, so I don't think I'm on the clock in any drafts right now. But I do think I have somewhere between 10 to 15 rookie drafts all proceeding at some capacity for sure.
Yeah, I know Ferris and I have been battling it out for Travis Hunter in every league we're in, but yeah, it's honestly been, I think, one of the two of us.
Ferris, he was one of the earliest adopters on the Travis Hunter is going to play wide receiver. Don't be scared to compete wave. He was he was on it very early. I don't know how many like rookie drafts you actually got in before people started to get a little bit more hip to it, but he was on it when it was like. When the prevailing wisdom was that he was a corner first, Ferris was pretty out and aggressive on Hunter, so that's paid off big time.
Yeah, we were in a couple together without rookies, and then I think Ferris, you joined a bunch after with rookies included. I know you're getting them like 7th round, 6th round later than that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the ones that I did really early, the ones I did like I think in January or so, where we had rookie drafts. Way back then, there was a few where I got him in the 2nd round, like 2-3, 2-4, because basically at that point people were just, for some reason, people were like very certain that he's going to be playing corner, and I was just like, well, that I don't know why we're so certain about that. Like when his like everything about his tape for like playing wide receiver was really good, and yeah, I just didn't see a scenario where a team isn't going to want to play him on offense, and like you're not paying that price, I think, like draft capital wise, unless you're going to have him play both ways, right? And he's just like too talented as an offensive player to not have him use. So at that point, it was just like a free bet to make. And, like as we got further into it, I was like more and more certain that he's going to have like a bigger role in offense than people were perceiving.
Yeah. And it looks like he will. So,
yeah.
By the way, just to people watching in the chat, if I start to look and make very weird facial movements, the Leafs are currently in the 3rd period of Game 6 against the Ottawa Senators. The Toronto Maple Leafs are probably the most important thing in my entire life. So I'm currently got one eye to the left, one eye locked into the right. And there was a post that was just hit, and I was like, so there might be more of those faces throughout the day, but yeah, excited to be on talking with you guys about rookies.
Hell yeah, bro. Yeah, we're excited to have you. Yeah, so let's jump into it first. We're gonna do just a little rookie mock draft. And I just caveat for both of you, like I want also some narrative of like where are you trying to trade up from? What have you been seeing in your drafts? Because I mean, between the three of us, we probably have close, damn near to 50 rookie drafts going on right now. So I feel like it's good for the community to get real time feedback based on what's going on right now. So
sounds good.
So I'll go first just so that we can get the easy one out of the way with Genty, and then Jakob, why don't you get us going after that?
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, I have the first player in a tier of his own. I also have the second player in a tier of his own. The market does not. So I'm going to take Travis Hunter, 102. The way I'm approaching it with Hunter is basically every time that I have the 102, I'm just clicking his name. I'm not messing around, trying to trade back, doing anything crazy. If I don't have the 102, and I think that I don't like know my league mate, I think there's a chance he might fall. I'm not trying to force the issue because I genuinely do like the other two guys that go in these spots as well. And it's not like I want to have 0 of them and only have Travis Hunter. So I kind of sit back, and if I get some bonus shares of Hunter at the 3 or the 4, awesome. If he goes at the 102 and then I get some of the next guys, that works for me too. What I would say is when I don't have any of the top 5 picks, I try to wait kind of until like the 3 or the 4. And then almost every time I at least engage someone to see if they're willing to trade up, and hoping that, whoever gets the 4, maybe they get the guy that they least wanted and they're willing to move back. So I've been pretty aggressive with collecting Hunter shares so far. I'll get a fake one here.
Beautiful. Yeah. Ferris, how have you been handling that 102 spot as similarly to Jakob, or I know you've been pretty aggressive, so I would like to hear your thoughts as well on that 102 spot.
Yeah. I mean, the leagues I'm sitting like 103 or 104, I'm usually not trading up just because there's a bunch of other leagues where I'm somewhere around like the 1.5, 1.6, or even like the 1.7, 1.8, where I've been able to like slowly move up into like a range where if I see him fall to like 1.4 or 1.5, then I'll be a bit, and I'm sitting at like 107 or 108, then I'm a bit more aggressive with trading up, because I think that point the cost to trade up is a lot lower than it would be jumping all the way up to like 1.2 for him, right? So
I mean, we're burying guys we're going to talk about later in the draft, but like one thing I've noticed too is like the 1.7 to 1.12 is to me a pretty flat range of the draft. But Judkins has kind of solidified in the market as the consensus 107 pick. And I'm not the biggest fan of him. I think it's a totally justifiable pick at the 107, especially if you're a fan of the player. But to me, it's like, oh, great. Like, I was a little worried. Am I going to have to fade all this upside? I don't really feel like I'm fading it as much if I'm getting his value via trade. Like if people are viewing 1.7 as a meaningfully different pick than the 1.8, the 1.9, the 1.10, guys that I have ranked ahead of him, then I don't really feel that bad about taking a risk of a 0 share, because I'm just kind of using his value in a different way. So that's been a spot where if I have the 107 especially, or the 108 even, I'm first trying to move up into getting Hunter and some of the other guys near the top. And then if all else fails, I'll try to move back. But those are picks and slots that I'm trying to be very aggressive working the trade market from.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still so much variance league to league. Like if it's a non Twitter Dynasty Virgin league, like there's a lot of people who are not, they're scared off on Hunter. And so I've gotten some trades where it's significantly below where I value him. And I think you guys value him like late, basically too late first, essentially, which is, I'll do that every day of the week and twice on Sundays if I can get that. And I think it's still doable in a lot of leagues. So
yeah, there was one league somehow he fell all the way to 1.9 and I just traded up and got him there, which was insane.
That's wild.
That was insane. Like I have no idea how that happened, but most of my leagues I think people are either trading up. Yeah, most of my leagues is going somewhere between 1.2 to like 1.4, somewhere in that range, and
that's been the majority for me as well.
Yeah.
I've traded for Hunter 3 times. One of those was I just traded Marvin Harrison for the 103 and a 26 second, and of course took Hunter at 103. Another one was one of my probably my most loaded value team, or close to it, where I had kind of a surplus of picks, and I traded the 1.7, the 1.12, and the 3.10, and got Hunter there, and I think that was at the 103 as well. And then the only time that I've traded up within that tier is I had a league I really didn't want to get stuck with the quarterback selection, and traded up to get Hunter at the 102 from the 105 in a league where I knew that the same guy had picks 2, 3, and 4. I knew he was going to take Hunter with one of them, or maybe he just had 2 and 3. Anyway, I knew exactly who was going to be at 1.5. It was going to be Cam Ward or Henderson. And in that spot, I think I gave the 1.5 and the 1.12 for the 102, the 206, and did a little 3-4 swap in a future year as well.
Yeah, I'm doing that every day for sure. All right. So then, Ferris, where are you going with 103? Who do you have next up, or do you view it kind of as a choose your own adventure here?
I actually have like a 2-person tier here where I'm fine going Tower Hampton. I'm pretty split on like having shares of both. Like I'm not like leaning super heavily one way. So just in this case, I'll just go guy slightly prefers Tet. So, but I think both of them I basically want to be at market if possible. If it's one of those cases where if Hunter doesn't follow me, I'm just clicking one of those two guys.
Yeah,
and trying to have pretty even shares of both. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a super strong lean either. I haven't really been in the situation. It's mostly been 1-4, 1-2 or 1-4 where I've been at, so I haven't really had to like make the choice. It's just fallen to me. So I like that pick there. So yeah, we don't have to talk too much about him. Obviously got the top 10 draft capital.
Yeah.
Super good. Just wide open receiver room. I mean, you can argue, I think
Pocket
Ferris,
quarterback, bad defense, all the elements you want.
yeah, I mean, I think I could challenge for what, 140, 150 targets, something like that. Which,
Dude, easily. I mean,
Easily. Yeah.
Thielen completely dominated volume on this team 2 years ago, and that was before Bryce even showed any signs of life. And then last year, I mean, people forget that before he went like full psycho, Deontay was just racking up targets in this offense early in the season. And then, he leaves, and then Thielen wound up kind of getting a little bit back into what he was doing. Tat's going to be by far the best wide receiver that they've had on this team since drafting Bryce Young, and especially since bringing in Dave Canales. And he's going to have the run of this wide receiver room. So I'm really, really excited about this landing spot. I agree with what Ferris did here. I had him ranked at my 104 pre-draft. I since flipped that. I moved him ahead of Marion Hampton just based on, Ted had a pretty wide range of outcomes for his draft capital.
Yeah.
There were thoughts that he might slide into the late teens or the early 20s. He could have certainly gone to a place with a very like undisputed alpha in front of him. None of those things happened. He wound up going to a place that's really, really beneficial for him. So yeah, to me, that's the 103. Although I have him at the exact same valuation as Hampton in the same tier.
that is fair. Yeah. So I'm going to take the easy pick here. We were talking between the two, so we're just gonna go Hampton. I think it's a pretty exciting landing spot in terms of, obviously there's Najee there who might steal some work in the early season, and maybe will be a thorn in his side a little bit. But I mean, first round draft capital, elite O-line, Justin Herbert leading the offense, and we know they want to run the piss out of the ball. So yeah, super, super excited with him. I got my first share of him today in a rookie draft, and not much else to say there. So Jacob, why don't you, you're up next.
So it's a fun spot. It's hard to make this pick when I don't have an actual team, because I have two guys in the tier and I value them equally, and it's basically just a decision of, can a quarterback assist my team? Well, then I picked him. Can a quarterback not assist my team? I picked the other guy. Of course, I don't know anything about this hypothetical team, so I will pick. Well, fuck it. I mean, I'll just take the more fun player. So I'll just take Trevion Henderson here at the 105, because I think he's more interesting to talk about than Cam Ward. But in reality, this would be a spot where I do have them valued in the same tier. I have them back to back, and I'm ultimately making the pick based more than anything on positional need by team.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I haven't taken a single share of Cam Ward yet. It hasn't just fallen my way where I've needed a quarterback, or just where my picks have been so far. And I think I would rather, if I did have that pick and had Cam Ward available, I'd rather just try to move him for a vet where I feel like I can get better production and similar value. I don't know, like a Dak Prescott, like somewhere in that range of quarterback where, I don't know, I'm not that worried about youth at quarterback. And that's just how I prefer to play it. But yeah, Ferris, you are up next. So we just set you up with the less exciting guy.
Yeah, well, let me talk a little bit about this. So yeah, every time I've been at 1-5 and I've had to decide between Henderson or Cam Ward, I've basically clicked Henderson because as Jacob said, there's like I would need to be on a team where my QB2 is someone like a Darnold or something where I'm not really confident in their future. Then I think I will. But most of those teams where I'm at 1-5, I already have like 2 solid QBs, and Henderson just is like the guy I'm just clicking. So, and then even at 1-6. So here I'll throw a little caveat into this. Depending on the league I'm playing. So like I have some leagues where it's like 0.75 tight end premium, 2 tight ends. And let's just say even in the standard 0.5 tight end premium, if there's cases where if I have 2 solid QBs and I can't trade down, and I don't have a good tight end. Let's just say my tight end is like someone that I'm not confident in. There's scenarios where I will click like Loveland here as well. Just because it's only happened to me I think 1 or 2 drafts where I did that. So for this case, I'll go with Cam Ward here. I think he's like the guy you just go based on value. But I will say it's one of those things where I'm not actually like that confident about what his ceiling is as a player. Like, and for value purposes, I think you can click him here if you have to. But yeah, as I said, I think as Ward as a player, I just don't really know what the ceiling is. I don't really think he has much rushing upside. But QBs are always going to be pieces players trade for. Even Penix is like our 5th or 4th round pick now, right? And no one is going to say this is like a guy who's going to be a QB1 for you, right? But in Superflex, QBs are always going to have value. So I'm just very confident in Loveland as a player. That's why in some cases I'm going to be clicking him here.
Yeah, I agree with the confidence on Loveland for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jacob, I know you're very high on Loveland as well. Would you consider doing that, or is it just like you view them in a different
reward?
sphere?
No, I mean maybe in a 2 tight end league, sure. But in a standard 1 tight end league with like a 0.5 or 0.75 premium, I wouldn't. Just because the value ceiling on quarterback is much easier to obtain. There's plenty of quarterbacks each offseason that are worth sort of 2+ firsts in my chart. On average, there's like 1 to 2 tight ends who hit that mark. So I think just playing the odds, the value ceiling is higher on Ward. I will say, I think people misunderstand the supposed safety of quarterbacks. Like I often hear people talk about how quarterbacks are value insulated. I don't think that that's actually the case. The quarterbacks have a very high bust risk. It's especially true about the next quarterback in this class when you look at late first capital on quarterbacks. So I think there's this idea that, I'll draft the quarterback and it's just a safe pick and he's going to accrue value year over year. There's nothing really that is backed up by, especially now that people value rookies higher in their starting point. So I wouldn't view it like that. I think if anything, I would more view it as the value ceiling is higher on a quarterback.
Sure.
But my thing is like if you have use for a quarterback on your team, if you don't have a quarterback 2, if your QB2 is a little bit shaky, let's say your QB2 is like a Darnold or a Geno or a Stafford or something, then by all means I'd go ahead and click Cam Ward. I think you could even consider him at the 104 or the 103 if you really wanted to. I just think there's this idea that people are like, just take the value and it'll accrue. But it's like, well, for what? Because to me, like if I don't actually need a quarterback and I'm just clicking Ward to accrue value, first off, you have to be right. And you don't just guarantee that you're going to be right because you clicked the quarterback. There's plenty of quarterbacks whose value goes down, especially for non-rushers. And then you're just hoping to eventually trade that quarterback later, I suppose, for a running back or wide receiver. And to me, the best bets at running back and wide receiver historically for value accrual are rookies. So if I have the chance to just basically trade him now for Hampton or McMillan or Henderson like that, I would just rather do that right now and then just get a guy that I can put the points in my lineup instead of doing this kind of weird waiting game for a quarterback I can't play because I have 2 better starters. I think it's just wrong-headed. So to me, 106 is a totally fine place to take him. I think you could take him a little earlier if you're in need, but the idea that like it's the responsible thing to do or it's like the eat your vegetables pick, I just think is a little bit off base.
Yeah, I really like that take. And I think something that I learned from you, Jacob, and that you've talked about a lot is like, it's kind of goes along with people just rebuilding just to rebuild or just like holding value on their team and not trying to compete. Like, I think that's not exactly the same thing, but it's kind of similar where you're just like, okay, I'm just going to plant this quarterback I don't need on my bench and just hope he accrues value when it's like, you could be using those points in your lineup somewhere else. and still possibly accruing value. So I think that's a really good point. Yeah. So I'm going to go Colston Loveland up next. I'm just not really a Judkins guy. I think it was a good landing spot, but I'm not really sure with the quarterback situation there. If he's just going to get a ton of touchdown opportunity, and they also brought in Samson later on. So I'm just going to go with the number 10 overall capital tight end with Ben Johnson. I think just that'll buoy him, just having the kind of Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson effect. Even if he doesn't do much this year, I think his value will be very steady. And if one of the other guys is moved, like a DJ Moore, or he finally does get some room to get some targets, I think he's just very good. And then he will he has a lot of value ceiling as well. So that's where I'm going with Loveland. And Jacob, you are back up on the clock, brother.
All right. So yeah, Loveland would have been my pick too. This is one that's interesting. This is a spot where, so if you go on thinking, which is just my name, Jakob Sanderson, .substack.com, and you click my rankings sheet, you'll see that I have two sets of rankings. So I have one is my default rankings, and then I also have my market adjusted rankings. And so the default ranking idea is like if I play in 2 Dynasty leagues, and I just kind of want to get my guys who I think are of the most value. And if you want to make your guys my guys, then those are the rankings that I encourage you to use. My market adjusted rankings are a bit more for portfolio players. And I would say those are the ones that I probably actually draft off of more. Because even if I have certain fade stances on certain guys, like the degree to which I prefer a certain player is not usually like I want 13 shares of one and 0 of the other. I'd rather smooth it out a little bit. So this is a spot where Judkins is not the highest ranked player on my default rankings. He is the highest player on my market adjusted rankings. And if we were doing this for real in a draft right now, this is where I do the pick on the block strategy. And I start firing out offers. I contact the 1-9, the 1-10, the 1-11. See if I can grab an extra second, maybe a 2-3 swap in future years, maybe a player on their roster I think is undervalued, whatever it may be, try to get a little bit extra. And so then I can basically pick the player that I already prefer over Judkins straight up, but I'm not sacrificing his value. I'm getting something for making the pick that I already want to make. That's what I've been doing if this is a real draft. In this draft, obviously, we're not doing trades. So the way I would look at this is, what if I'm just stuck on the clock? I've exhausted all options. At this point in my draft season, I'm clicking Judkins, and that's what I'm going to do here. And then if this happens a lot, and say I look halfway through my drafts and I go, I have 4 shares of Judkins, I have 3 shares of Ibuka. I actually have Ibuka ranked higher. Why am I clicking Judkins more? That's when I will eventually just stop, doing this market adjust, and I'll just start drafting off my base rankings. But early on in the stage, my goal is, how do I make sure to capture? I want to hit my target exposures. Maybe I'll back that up. You'll also see in the rankings, I have target exposures for every single player in rookie drafts. So I want to hit my target exposures, but I want to do it in the most cost-effective way possible. So for me, it's more cost-effective to go, okay, this draft, I'm getting Ibuka because I got paid 301 to move back a slot. And so then I get Ibuka instead of Judkins. The next draft, I can't get anything on the trade back, so I'm just going to take Judkins. I could have flopped it. I could have just taken Ibuka the first time and then taken Judkins next time, but this time I get an extra 301 out of it, and I hit the same exposures. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking it through. This case would be one of those where I can't trade. I'll take Quinshon Judkins here and take the opportunity to sort of talk people through that play in several leagues, how to kind of think through that portfolio management aspect of Dynasty.
Yeah, that's a very good way to approach it. And it's obviously way different if you're playing in 50 leagues like us versus 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. You're going to approach it differently. So thanks for walking through that. And also, did not plug it before, but yeah, Jacob, the link to Thinking About Thinking, Jacob's Substack, is down below. So go check that out. If you're not already subscribed, go check that out. It's, I would say, best bang for your buck in the industry in terms of kind of understanding Dynasty, understanding Bestball. Jacob does a great job. He's a great writer, so be sure to go check that out.
Much appreciated, man.
So Ferris, you are back on the clock, bro. So where are you going here after Loveland and Judkins go off the board?
Yeah, similar to kind of what Jacob said at this point, I probably have I actually have 4 guys in this area that I'm fine getting. So first thing I'm doing, exploring a trade back. If possible, if you can get anything small on top, I'm always down to do that for like the next 4 picks. If there's not a trade possibility here, then my slight lean between all the guys would be to go to Warren here versus the others. But again, I'm Warren and like these next like 4 guys, I'm like all in the same tier for me.
Yeah.
And with Warren, so like I don't really know what to expect year one. I don't think any of us think that the landing spot is ideal for year 1 points. Long term, assuming that the QB situation, is improved, or let's just say AR somehow puts it together. Long term, I'm pretty confident that Warren is going to be, a tight end difference maker in some capacity for you. The year 1 landing spot is a bit questionable. Like I don't know what his usages would be. Like I don't know how much that offense is going to be passing or moving the ball or being efficient. So there's some question marks. But in terms of talent alone, I think I'm pretty confident in terms of him being a very solid tight end for you. I have him slightly, below Loveland. I think there's a slight difference in what I think their ceiling is as a player, but I think Warren is going to be, he has the possibility to be like a top tight end for you right off the bat. So
yeah,
the
Jacob,
Warren bull case for me, and I come to this from a Colts fan perspective too. But I think if people are familiar with my stuff, I don't sound like I just hype every single Indianapolis Colt. I think I'm pretty measured. And
I think it's the opposite. I think it's the opposite.
If anything, it's probably the opposite. Yeah. So I think that there is a real bull case for Warren over the long term with this team. My issue with Warren as a prospect, and I mean, I use issue lightly. I still really liked him as a prospect. But the big separator for me as to why I had Loveland solidly as my tight end 1, pre-draft, post-draft throughout this process, was that Loveland to me is just clearly a step ahead as a traditional route runner. Like he is, I know neither of these guys have any athletic testing. I would bet a lot that if they both ran a 40, that Loveland would have the better time. I think he's also just more technically refined as a route runner in terms of a guy who can actually separate from DBs if he's ever put out on an island, and who can run a more of a full route tree and can be more of a threat on seams and in the intermediate passes. Someone did this cut up of like, I think it was like all 15 Tyler Warren, or it was all receptions of Tyler Warren for more than 15 yards. And like 80% of them are like either impressive tackle breaking plays or they're just like wide open plays, but they're not a lot of like steams, slants, stick nods, stuff that's in the complex tight end route tree that you'll see Loveland run pretty much all the time when you watch his Michigan tape. So to me, the question with Warren was, he was this yak freak, this engine of the offense at Penn State. Most NFL teams don't need to do that with a tight end. Most NFL teams have receivers and running backs to do yak stuff for them that are usually much better athletes for it. And I thought some of this production wasn't replicable. But the Colts, they have a lot of guys, but they don't have anyone who does that. Michael Pittman is a complete yak sponge. He never creates anything after the catch. Alec Pierce is a field stretcher. He's certainly not like a ball in hand player. I don't even know what A.D. Mitchell is going to turn out to be, but he was never projected as like a ball in hand player. He's more of a separator, downfield guy. And then Downs is a jitterbug, so he can be a short area guy at times, but he's much more of a short area guy from the perspective of, shout out to the Leafs, by the way, much more of a short area like a jitterbug type. He's not a physical type, right? He's not a tackle breaker.
Definitely not.
So with Warren, he's a guy that I do think they're going to actually feature in the screen game, feature as getting the ball into space, because they've been like at the bottom of the league in yak for the receivers for years. So I think he's going to get a lot of that good usage. Obviously this year it's just limited by the fact that they're going to have a really high run rate, and whatever passes that are going to get thrown by bad quarterbacks. And it's just going to be a shit show. But I think that he's going to play a ton of snaps right? There's no routes concerns like Loveland does. There's no snap concerns. And I think he's going to have a lot of splash plays. And it's going to be a guy where you're going to look at the end of the year. You're going to like, okay, the peripherals are pretty good. He looked good to my eye. And they're going to have a new quarterback plan next year. And I'm into that. And he's going to be a guy who I think people will talk themselves into as a sophomore breakout.
Yeah. I think that's the year one concerns I have is just because, unfortunately, AR in the short game and intermediate game is just not good at all, right? That's that's the area that Warren has to be featured in. But yeah, like Jacob said, I think long term, I think they're gonna get a new QB next year, and who knows, it might even be Drew Allar at this point. And then you have a United, and you have a guy who knows how to use them, and there you go, the guy that he's set up again to do what he did in college. So I'm not actually too worried about like the production in college, like it being like kind of like a 1 year type thing either. Tight ends, they don't really follow the timeline that a wide receiver does. And year one production, year two production, like it's not as important to me. Obviously, you would love to see it, but as long as they start doing something by their third year, they show some glimpses. And then Warren, of course, just went completely off this last year. So I think he's a good player. So I'm not worried about like the early career production for tight ends that some other people have brought up.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing about Warren, or two more things quickly. Is I haven't seen him fall to like 112 to 1. I think people might just be scared of the year one stuff, and they might not just need a tight end. So, like you said, if you can trade back and just net whatever value falls to, definitely do that. And then I kind of see Warren the way he, I don't know, either should be used or was used, kind of like a Dallas Goedert-y type guy, where it's like yak stuff, like you said, yards after the catch. And I think he can be like, we saw Shane Steichen obviously was with the Eagles, and I think that it would like he would know how to scheme up Warren. So I'm not too concerned about it once they get a competent quarterback. So yeah, I am back up, and I am going to go Emeka Egbuka here. I think he was really good prospect coming out, obviously produced next to a long line of very strong Ohio State wide receivers coming out. And I'm not too concerned about the landing spot with Tampa Bay, just because Mike Evans is going to turn 32. Chris Godwin has come off. He's been injured almost every year, at least a little bit. And he is 29, I think, turning 30. So I think situations are very fluid in the NFL, and I just want to be betting on the talent. The coaching staff is pretty solid. Baker, I'm not a huge Baker guy, but I do think he's solid enough. So I just want to be leaning into this situation here. And we saw Jalen McMillan produce at the end of the season as the third wide receiver. Obviously that was with injuries happening, but if he can do it, I definitely think Egbuka can do it. So any thoughts on Egbuka before we go back to you, Jacob?
Definitely would have been my pick there. I'm into it.
Nice. All right. You are back up, sir.
All right. Well, fun time. I get to take my favorite player in the draft. Certainly was going to be was my favorite value pre-draft. His price has, of course, shot up exponentially since Sean Payton decided to put his stamp of approval all over him. I'm, of course, talking with the pride of University of Central Florida, RJ Harvey. Shout out to Canada. Harvey's makes your hamburger a beautiful thing. You guys don't have Harvey's in America, do you?
We did not.
It's nothing to you.
There's a Harvey's about 2 minutes from my house.
Oh wow! Where in America are you located? That you have?
No, I'm in Scarborough, Ontario, brother.
He's
you're Canadian. I didn't know you were a fellow Canadian.
So yeah.
Then you're all about the Harvey's life. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm originally American, but I moved to Canada to
Scarborough.
Well, yeah, long story, but yeah, basically before COVID, my girlfriend is Canadian, and I met her across the border. She was in law school. Shout out to the lawyers, Jacob, and
what's the Canadian lawyers?
Exactly. And so then, I ended up moving in the middle of COVID to Canada, and I've been here ever since. So,
shout out to Scarborough. Shout out to the Toronto Maple Leafs once again. Have won the Battle of Ontario today. And shout out to RJ Harvey. Just like Harvey's Hamburgers, he's a reliable force multiplying runner, just a dynamic option. Yeah, I was really excited about him pre-draft. Elite missed tackles force rates, elite breakaway rates, both in 2023 and in 2024. Older prospect, obviously. I care about that for the extent that his value has a cap to it. Like, if RJ Harvey and Quinshon Judkins have the same rookie season, just obviously Quinshon Judkins is going to be valued way higher, and he should be, because when you look at RJ Harvey, whatever year he comes off of this year, he's going to be 25. You should be viewing him, not that dissimilarly, probably from the way that you view like a Chase Brown or like a Kyron Williams. Maybe you feel more secure about him, but like from an age perspective, it's the same kind of proposition. So I've struggled with getting a lot of exposure to him in this range of the draft, where the opportunity cost is way higher than I expected it to be. I almost wish that he didn't go to such a nut landing spot, because I really, really do believe in the player. It's just that when the cost gets so much inflated, I feel like he's getting drafted a little bit closer to his dynasty ceiling. That being said, in this spot, all the players that I commonly have to take him ahead of are off the board. He's the last guy to tier now for me. I get to click his name. I think there's a decent chance he's the second highest scoring running back in 2025 from this rookie class. I actually think that that's the modal outcome.
Yeah, I mean, we see Sean Payton just absolutely feed his running backs with targets. I think Harvey can definitely do that. And
I mean, 2.5 ADOT last year, which is for a running back, that's really high. You often see running backs somewhere between -1 and 1. And so he has pass protection issues, but in terms of the way Payton can use running backs on wheels and screens and angles and all that stuff, that's right in Harvey's wheelhouse. He's going to be a great fit for that.
Yeah, and I know he's a little bit older, but I'm not too concerned about it, especially with a chance to produce right away. I think if you do want to get out of him, whatever, I think you will be able to. So yeah, not too worried about that. So Ferris, any other Harvey thoughts? And otherwise, you're up next.
No, he would be my pick there too. I think the receiving upside that now that he's in that offense is a lot higher than people probably would assume based on his profile. So I like him. I haven't had many chances to draft him so far, but I'm hoping in some of my drafts I can get some shares, because I really do like the player. It just kind of sucks he went as early as he did, because now he's pushed all the way up. I would have been drafting a lot more of him if he was like a 3rd round pick or something. But great landing spot, it's
this is what happens. The players we like, end up doing well, like, and then we don't get to take them where we wanted to take them. It happens all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, where are you going here with 112?
All right. Well, in this spot, it's there's a few options I can go with here. I don't have anyone that's like an auto click for me here.
Yeah.
The market consensus for my drafts, it seems like Caleb Johnson is just going here for most people. So if I'm on the clock here and I had to make a pick, which I'll do here, is I'll go with Caleb Johnson, just because I think I have questions about the player in general, but I do think the landing spot with the Steelers and Arthur Smith is basically best case scenario for him. He's going to be able to be used in a way that's going to set him up to be successful, and I expect him, to be able to, get a lot of the workload immediately. So if I have to make the pick here, I'm going with Caleb Johnson. I do have questions about his receiving profile and what his upside is. I don't think he's just I don't really view him as highly as the market does in terms of talent. I think he struggles with some agility things, and he has to be used basically as a zone guy, which I'm hoping that's how they're going to be using him.
Arthur Smith is about that life. That's
yeah,
fine.
he is. So in that case, I'm fine taking him here. But yeah, I'm personally not going to I'm going to be below market on him. I'll just say that.
I like Caleb Johnson a lot. I was expecting to be overweight on him coming into this draft process. I haven't been yet. I mean, I not that infrequently see him go ahead of Ibuka or the tight ends, and that's something I'm never going to do. Even if that means I don't get any Johnson, I'm not going to consider that. There's a meaningful difference between the draft capital he got and like Judkins and Harvey got. So I'm fine with Johnson being the top of the next tier, like he was in this draft. I'm not really okay with it when he starts to get pushed into that tier. I think that's a little thin. I like Johnson's profile more though, maybe than Ferris did. I really think a lot of the big play stuff is going to stay. People like call him slow. I don't think he's slow. He takes a little bit of a while to get going. If you look at his speed score, 4.57 for like a 224-pound running back is actually like quite good. That's still like an 82nd percentile speed score, I think. So he's plenty athletic for me. The success rate's bad. I put some of that on him. I put a lot of it just on the fact that Iowa runs like this totally prehistoric offense. They give it to Caleb Johnson on every play practically. And so you're just inviting all of the defense to come right into the box. And what you're going to get from that is kind of the Caleb Johnson profile. It's going to be a lot more stuffs, but it's also going to be a lot more big plays because every time you break through the line, there's nobody home in the back end to tackle you at the second level. There is no second level. They're just going 9-on-9 on every single play. So I think he's going to fit seamlessly in Pittsburgh. I think he takes over the Najee role. Warren stays in his role. And I think we're going to get certainly more juice from Johnson than we got out of Najee Harris. He'd be in consideration for me too at the 112.
Yeah, nice there. I'm having a hard time here because I think I'm between two guys that are on the board, and I think I'm just gonna go with Burden here. I think so. The other guy I would be considering is Dart, and I think you were alluding to it earlier, just about. I don't think the value insulation is even really there for Dart, him being a late first round pick. And I kind of just think the Chicago hype will kind of keep, even if Burden, as long as he flashes something his rookie year, I think he will be pretty easily could be like whatever, still like a third or fourth round best ball pick next year. And so I just want to bet on the talent and the offensive situation there over kind of, I don't even know if the coaching staff is going to be there with the Giants next year. And unless I'm just down bad at quarterback, which I have been, and I've taken my fair share of Dart there. But if for no teams and I don't have that situation, then I'm going to go Burden here.
Yeah,
back to me now. Yeah, that I get that. Oh yeah, jump in.
So,
go for it.
Yeah. So I think Burden for me was one of those players where landing spot is gonna determine how much I'm in on him or not in on him, and I think obviously with Ben Johnson, it's like the perfect landing spot because I do think he's a player that needs to be basically kind of used in like a Rashi Rice like hybrid role, right? And he's gonna just seamlessly slot in as the slot player there for the Bears, and I think Ben Johnson's gonna be able to use his like yak ability to, in that offense. So I'm actually very confident now. In the player evaluation and like how he's going to be used. Whereas
exactly.
I think almost every other landing spot, to be honest, like I just would have a lot of question marks about him, and especially if it was not with a offense where it was obvious they would know how to use his talent. So
yeah, I mean he's raw. I would almost kind of make a comparison to like kind of like obviously not exactly the same kind of player, but kind of a Jaden Reed type guy. But like we saw Jaden Reed for parts of the season last year, he was valued extremely highly, and I think he can definitely succeed in that role. And I trust Ben Johnson, like you said, more than almost anyone else. So yeah. I just think, I think he'll show flashes. He will rise or stay the same in value. I would say almost certainly he will rise in value because he's going pretty, like I've seen him fall to the 2.5, 2.6 sometimes because people are a little bit scared off of the year one stuff. So that's where I'm going with him. So Jacob, who are you going up next year at 2-2?
Yeah, I mean, seems like at this point I have a tier 3 guys. There's one guy left, and here we go here. So
ripping, smoking darts.
I'll rip the Jackson dart right there.
That's an elite bit.
I had
right
to
there.
go off camera for a second. Another guy who I thought I was higher on for most of the pre-draft process. He's been my QB2 strongly over for Shadur for quite a while. I have concerns that you just brought up where I've heard the same argument of him. Oh, it's the value play. I think that is like insane to me that he is the value play from a safety standpoint. Now, upside, sure. If you want to make the case that like if Dart hits, mobile quarterback, value of the quarterback, he's a guy that has a lot of potential to rise 100%. Like I think it's indisputable that the value ceiling on Dart is much higher than, say, like a Caleb Johnson is. But you look at it from a floor perspective, pick 16 and later, but in the first round. So between 16 and 32, the last 15 years. Lamar Jackson, A+, fantastic, love it. Jordan Love took a interesting path to get there, but eventually becomes a hit. And then EJ Manuel, Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater, Paxton Lynch, Dwayne Haskins, Kenny Pickett, Brandon Wheaton. And most of these guys, not only did they become busts, they became busts like immediately. Bridgewater had a couple of years, and maybe would have had like a poor man's Tua career if he never has that devastating injury. But the other guys like Manuel, Manziel, Lynch, Haskins, Pickett, Whedon, like it was kind of over borderline instantly for most of these guys in Dynasty, or at very least like within a few weeks into their second year, it was over. So I think with Dart, if he had gone even at the same draft capital, late one, but he went to New Orleans or Pittsburgh, it'd be a better bet to me, because I think you'd at least be almost guaranteed 2 years of him starting week, of him being a planned starter. The Giants is really scary because, like you said, they're going to start Rust begin the year. Eventually, Dart's going to play this year. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. But he might only have between 6 to 10 starts to impress not just the people who drafted him, but the next regime of the New York Giants if everybody gets fired. And is the ownership going to go to GM candidates and coach candidates and say, yeah, I'm insisting that you have to take Jackson Dart? Because he has a wide range of outcomes on him. What if they hire a coach or GM that wanted nothing to do with Dart in this draft process, isn't impressed by him this year? Are they going to limit their GM coach search only to people who are into Jackson Dart? I doubt it unless he plays well. So I think it's a high risk, high reward pick. This spot in the draft is where I'm comfortable with that reward exceeding the risk.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Will Levis a little bit. Like toolsy guy. I think he's a little bit better than Will Levis.
I think he's a better prospect than Levis because he's just more active.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But just the situation kind of, it's eerily similar to me, where it's like he's going to get a shot to play, but then is he actually good enough, and are the coaches going to actually care enough to have anything happen long term? So,
Right.
All right, Ferris, you are back up at 2-3. Where are you going to go here?
Oh yeah, I think so. These next couple guys, another tier for me, but I'm pretty okay with going Matthew Golden here. I think he's just a first round capital. In terms of a player, I think that the analytic profile is not
every
great.
single time that any person takes Matthew Golden in a mock draft, the first thing they say is first round draft capital. It's like an absolute lock. It's like, oh, you take. It's like
that's about
every single person. Like, look at the draft capital.
All right, I'll speak a little bit more to him. So like the few film people I follow, they had a lot of good things to say about him. So it's not just the draft capital. I think it's just a projection. That's the hard part. I think like for all of us, like we haven't seen it put together entirely on the field yet. And the question we ask ourselves is why, right? Like, and you can probably try to make a billion excuses for how he was used. You can blame Quinn Ewers. You can do a lot of different things. But if we can project a little bit, and he does put it together, and he is like Jordan Love's go-to guy there. There is a ceiling outcome here. So I'm in the second round for a guy that got the draft capital and the film people, they see something in him. I do think he's a guy who can have a better NFL career than he had like a college career numbers wise, right? So I'm fine clicking him here. I don't have like much more confidence in some of the other guys here in terms of their ceiling or like where I see them as. So yeah, I'm good with going Matthew Golden here as well.
Yeah, I want to. First of all, I would have also taken him at 2 or 3. So I have no issue with Ferris's pick. But I do think that there's like a belief out there in some circles, like, these like analytics nerds, they always besmirch these prospects and we always show them. It's like there's not really a great horde of examples, of counter examples of Matthew Golden types like bodying the analytics nerds. Like if there was, I would be more concerned. But like this is last 11 years of drafts. These are the players round 1, sub 85 yards per game, peak season. Henry Ruggs, Philip Dorsett, Kelvin Benjamin, Quentin Johnson, Jalen Reagor, Brashad Perriman, John Ross, and then you get maybe hit Xavier Worthy and obviously a hit Calvin Ridley. Players
Not
with
great.
less than 2 career yards per route run in the last 12 years, drafted either on day 1 or day 2. The only players to be a hit are DK Metcalf, Brian Thomas, Terry McLaurin. All played their entire college career in elite conferences. All had a higher peak yards per run than Golden. Golden played his first 2 years at freaking Houston and didn't do shit. So it's really tough for me. The last stat I'll give is I do this uncontested targets per route run stat. So basically just you take your targets per route run and then you subtract the percentage of those that are contested. He had a 0.139 UTPRR. That ranked 226th of 262 college receivers that had 50 or more targets. And obviously, like, out of those 262, probably like 11 of them are going to be NFL relevant, right? So he like was behind all of them, and then was also behind like 210 other insurance salesmen.
Not great.
So I think I'm willing to be humble in the sense of maybe there's a role for Matthew Golden in the NFL that is more valuable than just what his production merits. His like whatever like his total utility is in the NFL, maybe his fantasy utility is just a much lower percentage of that than other players. But what I'm not going to be that humble about is the idea that he's just going to transform into a completely different player than he's ever been, and all of a sudden he's going to be this volume dominant player. I don't think there's much of a basis for it, and it would be very shocking if it happened. Obviously, that doesn't mean he's undraftable. I'm happy to draft him at the 203, but I do have him in a tier behind everybody who went before him and at the front of the next tier. And I think there's this, again, people look at Matthew Golden and say, oh, high, low floor, but high upside. And I think it's like low floor and kind of low ceiling. Like, I think the ceiling where he hits is like, I mean, Jordan Addison ran circles around the student college, but if you just think about how he succeeds as an NFL player as being kind of like a 20% target share, efficient downfield complementary receiver, maybe that's how Matthew Golden hits. And that'd be a great pick at 203. But like, I'm not that afraid of missing out on that if that's the absolute ceiling. And anything higher than that would stun me.
Yeah. It's very touchdown driven. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The player he actually, I think where his most likely like ceiling outcome actually is, and some people might hate on this, but I think it's like Brandon Cooks. Like if we get a Brandon Cooks career out of him, I think
as well.
I think we would be probably happy with that outcome. Like if we're getting him here in this.
203. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So it just I don't think we're getting like a wide receiver one dominant like target guy. So
no, I will though mention again, like Brandon Cooks. Extremely fucking productive.
He was a really good.
Yeah, that's why I said ceiling.
This is the issue that I have, and it's like I agree with Ferris on that ceiling comp, and again I agree with him at 203. It's just like I get the pushback where some people are, oh, but that's not his role in the NFL. It's like, well, yeah, Brandon Cooks has been one of the apex of these like efficient downfield betas who has fantasy utility, but it's not like most of the guys who are like that were also that in college. Most of the Addisons and Cooks and Emmanuel Sanders and Tyler Lockett, like most of these guys were mega alphas in college and then pivot into a different role in the NFL where when the going gets even tougher, it's harder for Golden to just replicate, that role immediately. But I agree. Good pick at the 203.
Yeah, good discussion there on Golden, because I think I've seen a huge range on him as well. I've seen him go like 110. I don't know if it's Packers fans or who it is drafting him.
I have too, and that's more what I'm criticizing. I'm obviously not criticizing him at the 203.
Yeah, and shout out to Flatulent saying he also chose to wear number 22, which I will disagree with Ryan Heath and say that definitely matters to me.
Thank you. Yeah, should matter. It's disgusting.
So I am back up here at the 2-4, and I'm gonna go Trey Harris. I'll just go short and sweet here. I'll just say left side of the IQ bell curve meme and just say big man, run fast, play with Justin Herbert. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I think, I think he hit, I forget Jacob. It's like what 5.12 yards per route run in college or something insane.
5.12 yards per route run. Yeah, that's you're like if you're filling out your bingo card, it's Matthew Golden was drafted in the first round and Trey Harris had 5.12 yards per route run.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I'm just willing to take that shot here and like whatever early to mid second round on a guy that plays with Herbert. Obviously, like I don't trust in QJ. I don't trust in Mike Williams. Yeah. Maybe they bring in Keenan Allen or something back, but he's 32 or 33. So I think even if he's not amazing, you'll have sell windows on him playing with the Chargers, and that'll kind of buoy him a little bit. So that's where I'm going with 2-4. So
love that. That's my 2-4. Hames brought up something that I haven't seen, but it's almost certainly true. He said, "Is Matthew Golden wearing 22 because 22 teams passed on him?" I guess so, but that just annoys me even more. It's like one thing if you're doing this because you were drafted, like MJD wore 32 because all 32 teams passed on him. Like that's fine. Did you think you were hard done by going at 23? Like, does Matthew Golden think that this was like that he's the Shedeur Sanders of his own mind? Like he thinks that he was persecuted against in this draft? Like, no, the Packers picked you 2 rounds higher than they should have, in my opinion. I don't know. This guy drives me nuts. 205. All right, I could pick off by market adjusted rankings, like I did when I picked Quinshon Judkins, but I'm not going to this time because I don't think I'm going to get this guy following to me all the way to 208. Maybe I'll be wrong. I'm going to take Baishal Tutin at the 205. Round 4 running back. You know, there's some risk involved there, but I was once a big fan of Travis Etienne. I haven't seen him make an explosive vintage Travis Etienne play in a good long time. I think he's lost quite a lot of juice, and if he doesn't have juice, then he doesn't have much because his game was always pretty predicated on having juice. And Tank Bigsby, I know some people really like. He's not really my flavor. He's a lot of, first of all, he can't really catch. And then even in the run game, it's very much like run at a dude, maybe bowl him over, probably get tackled by the next dude. Like it's very like it's a violent running style, so it's very aesthetically pleasing. I don't know that it's something that's going to fit a pace and space Liam Cohen offense. So I think it's going to become apparent earlier than people think that Tutin is the best running back on this team. I think he's going to be the featured running back on this team. I don't know if he's going to be a workhorse necessarily, but I think he's going to be in the most fantasy valuable role on a team that I'm just pumped about. I'm in on Liam Cohen. I'm in on Hunter and Thomas. I'm perpetually against my better judgment in on Trevor Lawrence. So I'm excited about everything involved here. I think there's a decent chance that Tutin has a big breakout the second half of this season, and he becomes that guy that's kind of a sexy top 10 dynasty running back pick going into the next year.
Yeah, if you liked Bucky Irving, you're gonna love Baishal Tutin, pretty much.
I hope so. Yeah.
But yeah, I think with him, he's the guy that if I have late seconds, I'm trying to trade up to get. Basically, he's like my target there. So, love the pick.
All right, Ferris. I think I know where you're gonna go here, but where you're gonna go with this 2-6 pick here?
Well, you think, but that's actually not the direction I'm going.
Because
it's not. Because there's another guy here that I think just from the market perspective and how people value him. I'm just gonna go with Jaden Higgins here as well. So I think that's the correct pick. There's a guy that you guys know who I like, but if I'm on the clock here and I'm looking at this board, Jaden Higgins is the guy I'm going. Yeah, I mean, I think for me it's the profile. There's some question marks. Draft capital and being attached to CJ Stroud kind of puts a damper on that a bit for me. So I'm willing to bet that, you know, in that offense with CJ Stroud being most likely the number 2 target there, his value is pretty much set to increase unless he's just bad, right? Which I don't think he's bad. I don't know what the ceiling necessarily is, but I think he's at this point, I think he's a player you pick here and the value should go up. And if I don't love him, then I just try to move him later.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love the profile like you said, but I think that's the right pick there. I am back up here at 2-7. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Jack Bash here. I think he's very Jacoby Myers-esque, which is funny that he landed
that
on
was
the
who I
Raiders.
compared him to pre-draft.
Oh, really? I
And
didn't.
look where he is now. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think maybe I mean there's outside. It's obviously Brock Bowers and Jacoby there, and then not much else in the receiver room. Total disrespect to Trey Tucker. So I think I mean I don't think he'll be anything special his rookie year, but I think he'll be solid enough round 2 draft capital, and I just think he's super versatile. Can play outside, can play inside. Good yak guy. He can catch deep balls. Kind of just good at everything. So I think he'll carve out a role. I'm not sure what the actual ceiling is. But I think here in the mid second, I'm willing to make that bet here. So
love it.
All right.
Am I on the clock?
Yes, you are on the clock at 2-8, which is also why I wanted to go, Jeff.
We've set him up.
Yeah,
this is my plan all along.
Alert.
This is what I wanted.
Offset alert. But I'm not even being fraudulent. He's my highest ranked player on the board. So I'm going to take the fat, slow, shitty Cam.
Wow. Drafting a guy that you absolutely hate. Love to see it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm playing it up because I feel like I'm like every year there's like a couple of guys where I'm kind of out of step with the general analytical community. And Scadaboo is a dude that like most of the people who I talk Dynasty with are very into. And I'm not. And admittedly, it's like I'm not seeing anything in the stats. It's very much just like my subjective opinion of the film. And my subjective opinion of the film is that one, incredible contact balance and incredible dog in him. I'm not taking any of that away. Also very smooth pass catcher. I just think that he has like sub NFL play speed. And I think he combines that with too much belief in himself. Like this guy is like bounce and runs to me a lot for a dude who is probably like a 4.7 level athlete. If you look at guys like James Conner or Ramondre I don't know about Stevenson lately, but like Ramondre Stevenson kind of when he was good, or David Montgomery. To me, those guys like are far more disciplined runners and run with more decisiveness and vision than Cam Scadabo did, where to me, he constantly stuck out to me as like a 4.7 dude who thinks he's a 4.4 dude. And that worked at Arizona State because he could just kind of like run around and shove dudes off of him. But like, he's not that big. He's like 5'10", 219. NFL linebackers are used to tackling Derrick Henrys and Jonathan Taylors. I think that someone will be able to bring down Cam Scadaboo. So I just don't think he's going to be able to replicate his college efficiency, personally. But I do think that if and when he gets a big workload, at worst, he can be like a Rachaad White, where it's like maybe the efficiency is kind of ugly, but he can handle volume without a question. He's going to catch the ball whenever he's playing snaps without a question. He's going to have a very fantasy-friendly profile. So, I mean, I felt like I kind of already won a little bit of the battle because I thought he was a day 3 prospect, and a lot of people had him going in round 2 or round 3. I think it's totally fine where he went. And I think it's a really intriguing landing spot on the Giants, where they have Tyrone Tracy, who is also just kind of fine. So, I think at worst, Scadabo has a long-term future as like an elite contingent upside running back. And then you're getting him at a price now where he doesn't really have to take over and be that day 1 bell cow to pay off at the 208. So I have no problem with it here.
Ferris, let's get your rebuttal here.
Sure. Well, I mean, at this cost, if I'm getting him at this price, like that's just an auto click for me. So I think Jacob mentioned that his vision is lacking, and I think this is like, that's fine if you have that take. If that's the film you watched and that you saw. I actually think he's a lot more of a patient runner than Jacob does. When I watched them like make runs and just play, I think he was behind the line of scrimmage, like ability to just be patient, let things open was pretty solid. Like a lot of his highlights that we see and like the way people talk about him is like he's just a guy that just runs into you and tries to bulldoze you. I think he does that if he gets to like the second level, because he's not a guy who's going to break away from anyone at the second level. Like his explosive ability is let's just say it's not there like from top end speed. But I do think like his ability to be patient and just like take what's given to him and work it that way, I do think he's actually really good there. And in terms of like contact balance, like his metrics were, I would say, like top of the class in that area. And as a
100%.
receiving back, and for fantasy, as we all know, like the receiving ability for running back is what we want. It's how we score points. It's how we hit those top end ceiling. I am a big fan of like his ability to actually like catch the ball in the backfield. The one question mark I do have about him is like is a pass blocker. Like I have seen people mention that he's not very good in the area, and he's not. So he does need to develop more in that area. But if he does, I think he has like the hands and the receiving ability that we want in fantasy. So yeah, I just think he's like I would say I view him in the same way that I view someone like a James Conner. Like, do I think James Conner is like this guy that everyone is gonna just love and be wanting? Like, no, but he's just gonna be one of those like super underrated guys that some people don't really love because we don't get the flashy like breakaway plays. But that's fine as long as we get the consistency, which I think he's fully capable of giving you as a runner, and we get the receiving ability for fantasy. Like I think he's a guy who's just gonna put up points for you. So and the landing spot honestly is great. I think he's not in a backfield where he's has a dominant guy in front of him. I think Tyrone Tracy, as much as I loved him year one, I had a lot of him just because I think the cost was great. He was not efficient at all as a runner. So I actually think Scatterboat is a better runner already than him, and I don't think it's going to take him that long to like supplant him. And if that happens, I see him scoring a lot of points for us. So
Nice. So you are back up here at the 2-9. We have a couple picks, one more round to go. Where are you going with 2-9 here? I think this is kind of the range where I'm like not super jazzed about any of these guys, but what are you thinking?
yeah, I mean, there's a guy I still like here, and that's Kyle Williams. So I'm pretty good clicking him here. I just really like the landing spot for him. I think he's one of those guys where the film people were really high on him, and I'm just going to kind of tend to lean that way at this point in the draft, where if the film people see something in him and the landing spot, attached to Drake May, who, I think all of us are pretty in on him as a passer and just as a player as a whole. And, the only other guy in that offense who I think is even, a threat to target share is basically Stephon Diggs, who is coming off a very serious injury, and who knows what he's going to be. Yeah, I think Kyle Williams has a chance to like have a year one like where he can do something for us, and if he does, his value is going to go up. So I'm he's the guy that I'd be taking here.
Big agree. That's my 2-9 as well. Similar to you, like there's not really much in his analytical profile, to be honest. I mean, I had him on a C2C team starting 2 years ago when he was at Washington State with Cam Ward. So, obviously really getting really good quarterback play. And he was pretty decisively the third option behind Josh Kelly and Luther Victor, which are not two names that people who don't play college fantasy will ever know. So like when all this film stuff was coming out, I was like, really? Like that guy? And I still kind of feel that way. But if people are into it and he has the draft capital and he has the opportunity, I mean, it's ironic because like I feel honestly like so similar about him as I felt about freaking Polk this time last year, where I'm like getting into a guy who I don't really like because he has like a few film fans and he has opportunity and he has draft capital. But like, I guess, sure, I'll make the darn bet again. There's nobody else that I like that much. So like,
can't go wrong again, right?
Yeah, like I'm just going to, if there were players that I really felt good about, then I'd be fine fading Kyle Williams, who I don't. But there's not. Like, there's no one left that I'm like, this guy is a for sure thing. So I'm happy to just do maybe the analytics are wrong pick at 209 for the chance to get Drake May's number one wide receiver.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect case. It's just he could be the number one for Drake May, and that's really the case. Okay, I'm in a very tough spot here at 210. Like I think there's like three guys I could go. And I kind of don't want to make the case for two of them. So I think I'm just gonna go Jalen Knoll here, probably against my better judgment, but I just think I kind of liked his profile more than Jaden Higgins. So I'm just going to be taking the shot on the profile that I liked with CJ Stroud. And I think I don't know. I just think he could be better than Jaden Higgins. I know Jaden Higgins got the higher draft capital, but I'll just trust in that and go with God and hope for the best. So Jacob, you are up next at 211.
All right, let's do it. So I will. All right, I'm gonna let a naysayer know. I'll take Jalen Milroe here. Yeah, I think this is like not dissimilar to what we've been saying for much of this round. This is a player who I actually do think is actively bad. But but I will also admit that like it's not like I'm watching Alabama every week and I root for the Vols. So like I over-index my opinion of SEC players based on how they play in their once a year game against Tennessee. And he's played like dog shit 2 straight years against Tennessee. So like in my view, he can't possibly succeed. Especially this year. That was probably his worst game of the season. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of a fucking boat. But yeah, I think you're getting a guy who's has a similar athletic profile and probably similar passing profile to Anthony Richardson. But you're getting it at the 211. And you have a reasonable pathway to starting. I mean, Sam Darnold, I'm very skeptical of outside of the Kevin O'Connell environment. And he has no guaranteed money on his contract after this year. I think it's totally plausible that Milroe starts a couple of games this year, either due to performance or injury, and maybe he shows enough they decide to give him a look in 2026. And his fantasy friendliness is such that even if he doesn't show you anything in real life, if he is just named the starter for week 1 in 2026, you're just making 2 to 3x return on investment from selecting him at the 211. If you want to trade him, or if you like what you see and you want to keep him, you can let the naysayers know.
Yep, like the pick. Yeah, that's who I'd go with. There's like I said, if Sam Darnold isn't able to keep it together, there's a good chance he's going to play this year, and his value at that point, his value is just going to go up as soon as he's on the field because he's going to score points. He's going to run the ball and put
He's
up
going
points.
to run so
there's
much,
going to be
dude.
Yeah, there's going to be someone else. There's going to be someone in your league who likes him more than you might. So.
All right, Ferris, why don't you close us out here at the 212? Not an enviable spot, but I think there's a couple guys left that are interesting here.
Yeah. Yeah, no one that I really love here, but the guy that I've found myself clicking at this spot is Terrence Ferguson.
Berg dog.
Again, analytical profile was not really even looking at him, to be honest. And then, we got athletic testing for the tight ends. I was like, oh, okay, well, he's at least crossed that threshold. And then the Rams decided to take him in the 46 overall. And I think, I trust Sean McVay. I trust how they're going to use the tight end. I think this year, obviously, it might take him a bit to get on the field, but at some point he's going to get on the field. It might be right away over Higbee. He's going to be the third option, and we'll see long term if Adams stays there for the next couple of years. I don't expect Ferguson to be putting up some massive amount of points for us, but at some point I think if he continues developing, he can be a tight end that we like using in fantasy. So at this point, if I can get like a back end tight end 1 possibly long term on my team, why not? I'll just click that.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that pick. Want to shout out to Fantasy Dog in the chat, giving away some memberships here, so appreciate him. If you guys aren't already a member of the Discord, it's linked down below. Hop in there, and I think we have like almost 70 members in there right now with a lot of very knowledgeable people in both Bestball and Dynasty, so be sure to join if you haven't already. And then, yeah, thanks so much for giving your thoughts here, guys. That was, I think, super informative and just gives a good kind of lay of the land for people as they either are already in rookie drafts or I mean, we're still pretty early, so people might have not already started yet. So thanks so much for going through that. You guys want to rip a BBM? Do you guys have
Let's
time?
Rip.
Yeah, I'm down to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Ferris, why don't you share your screen really quick, and then we can get started.
Yep. There you go.
All right. Yeah. If you guys want to come in and draft with us, we'll try to give you a quick countdown so you can. I know there's a slight delay. So, Jacob, how many BBMs or drafts have you done so far? Whether it's BBMs or other ones?
I'm only 2 in, man. It's been Dynasty season for me, so I'm in the Dynasty streets primarily. I'll get in on BBM a little bit more after this weekend, and then honestly, I draft a couple the first day it comes out. I thought this year though, like there's just you don't really get the crazy value scoops that you used to. The people that get in this are already on the ball. They're already looking to scoop the guys. So I feel like I'd almost just rather wait till the schedule comes out for most of my teams. But yeah, happy to get one in here with you guys for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like 2 years ago, I feel like there was way less rookie coverage. There was way less everything. I feel like now it's just like people have been talking about these rookies for 3 months already. So it's like, I don't think there's as much of an edge. Obviously the first day you can still get some values, but it's not the same as it has been in the past years.
Yeah, for me, it's like that. I was just hammering the big board. I I ended up with like I think 60% RJ Harvey and Tudor at like the 1920 pick like turn. So I think big board gives you so much opportunity if you like pay attention to rookies and follow college and like have certain takes on players. Big board you can get a ton of that. But now you know all those guys have been steamed up. Travis Hunter is like going much earlier than he was way before. RJ Harvey obviously with like draft capital is now way up. So yeah, it's hard to find value. I kind of agree with Jacob. Like you want to only do. I don't think you want to do too many of these at this point. Just kind of wait later until we get more news in the schedule.
Yeah. Yeah. Ferris and we did a couple earlier this week on the first day, and the first team we got boxed. We pushed quarterback.
We don't talk about that team. The second team's good though.
Yeah, we got boxed into a team we did not want to do, but the second one we got Hunter and Tat at the 4-5 turn, which was absolutely beautiful. And we got a bunch of stacked players, a bunch of good rookie values. So yeah, the first one is banished to the shadow realm, but the second one we felt very, very good about. So, all right, we'll give you a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's jump in.
Let's go in.
All right, I'm gonna light up this Jackson dart here as we draft.
Hell yeah.
I did the one prop drag, and now I'm actually gonna do it for real.
Jacob after dark.
Exactly.
Is the hockey game still going?
No, we won. That was
nice.
my shout out to the Leafs. Went 4-2. I am watching the end of Knicks Pistons though. Pistons are up by 1 with 50 seconds left. So great night for sports.
1 second, guys.
I gotta watch some more playoff hockey. I actually went to a Canucks game when I was in Vancouver. That was really fun.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Did you win?
You guys did win, yeah. It's the energy.
I'm not
there
at all
is
Canucks
crazy.
fan. I happen to live here now. I grew up a Leafs fan, although I lived in Winnipeg. The Jets didn't come back till I was like 15, so I had already kind of locked in on the Leafs. Then as soon as the Jets came, they instantly became sort of my co-favorite team. So I'm rooting for the Jets-Leafs final for sure. I've since moved to Vancouver. It's enjoyable when the Canucks do well, so that like people in the city are in a good mood. But I can't lie and say that I care.
Yeah, no, I think when you're a fan of a team, you stick to it. I'm here in LA, but I'm a Bears fan, sadly.
Good.
maybe not sad anymore. Maybe things are good. We'll see. There's things to be optimistic about finally.
Nice. I mean, oh my God, it looks incredible. This is like the first time it's ever looked interesting to be a Bears fan.
Yeah, that's. I think now that we actually have someone who can lead the ship, I'm pretty confident. But who knows? Bears are, unfortunately, kind of a cursed franchise, it seems. So
they are very like the Chicago Bears, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the New York Knicks, like all share a very similar orbit of like large market foundational teams to their sport that are just in a never-ending cycle of futility and disappointment.
That's just how it goes. So you get excited and then they just underperform your expectations.
Yeah.
All right. There's 4 more spots here. If anyone else wants to jump in.
Is this a 20 or a 30-second clock, Ferris?
20.
Okay, sorry. So I saw Fantasy Dog was asking, so I just wanted to double check. Sorry, I had
Oh,
to.
No
My
worries.
computer was gonna die, so I had to switch. So I was off screen for a second. But yeah, I'm a Lions fan, so it was terrible for like my whole adult and childhood life until the last few years. So I was riding pretty high, but honestly, probably like one of the worst moments in like my sports fandom was when they lost to the 49ers after being up by like, what was it, like 14 or 18 points or something like that. And that just killed my soul. Cause I was like, you only get a couple years of contention, and like for it to just swing the other way, I was just like, I don't know if we're going to get another chance, right? You only, unless you have Mahomes or Lamar or Josh Allen or whatever, like you only get a couple shots. And that was rough. But I mean, I can't be complaining compared to what they used to be. So, wow, this is taking a long time to fill.
Yeah, this one's a slow one.
Are we in the 20 or the 30?
The 20.
It should be 20.
Huh.
Let me tweet it out.
People in the chat, come on.
I never thought we would have this problem.
It should be the 20, unless it defaulted to the 30. I'm pretty sure it's the 20.
Okay, I put out some feelers, so let's see if we get someone.
All right, we're good.
Okay, let's see. What did we pull here?
Got the 9.
Okay, I like that spot.
Where are we? 109?
Yeah, 109.
All right. How much of our chat is drafting against us right now? I'm guessing a lot.
Yeah, if you guys are in here, you have to divulge that you're in here.
Yourself.
Yeah, otherwise you're gonna get swatted. They're gonna come to your door and break it down. So
Fantasy Dog's in here. Who else?
Some Bestball Bonanza said he's at 2.
Yeah, I see him. CL on a 2.
Let's see, anybody else I recognize here? Candyman, we got Candyman Fantasy Football Garage. He has a 4-hour live stream tomorrow, so if you haven't checked him out, he just hit 100 subs. So go give him some love at the Fantasy Football Garage. Okay, so we're probably gonna be Genty, Puka, Neighbors, right? Someone in that range.
Somewhere in that range.
What about the rule of don't say players' names? You know. Let's be a valuable rule.
Let's utilize the private chat. Let's utilize.
All right, there
we go. Let's private chat this pitch.
We just trust karma, good karma, right? It'll work out for us.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, 4 away. All right, if you guys have any strong takes, just write in the chat. Go from there.
Jacob, do you have any strong takes in the first round where you're going against ADP, or are you just kind of going with the flow of things of how it's falling?
I'll say that from this part of the board, there are some. Well, it's moot now. I was gonna say there's some wide receivers I really like in the mid rounds, so I'm pretty into clicking Genty in the first, but he goes. So I would be Neighbors or Collins, but I think Amon-Ra is fine too. I would just cycle these 3. I don't have any strong takes.
Yeah, let's go Neighbors. I like Neighbors. I think there's enough with the quarterbacks they have that he's going to be fine.
That's a group of 3 players where like I'm not going to let being right about those 3 define my season. I think they're all roughly equal. Now that he's gone, I will say that I don't do it at the 109 because I think there is a teardrop at wide receiver between that group of guys and Puka to the next group. But there are times where if I'm at the 110 or the 111, and maybe it's been a running back heavy start, and I know I'm going to get one of the wide receivers that I feel pretty similarly about in the early second, I'll go ahead and do exactly what that 110 did and just rip Brock Bowers right off the board, because that's my ideal second round pick for sure. He obviously won't be our second round pick in this league.
Yeah, I'm very into Bowers. I don't know. I think different people I've talked to have been scared off on him, but I don't view him that much differently.
But what are we afraid of?
I don't know, but I don't know. I think people are just scared because it's the Raiders. I don't know how to explain it. Like they just, I think it's just
the Raiders
bias.
are going to be like total, like they're not going to be good. but they're going to be firmly competent. Like they
Yeah.
have Gino, they have Chip Kelly. They're going to play at a high pace. They
All
have
right,
Gentry.
we are
Like,
up
it's gonna
again.
be a
All
totally
right, we can talk
fun
about the guys here. So we're looking at CMC, AJ Brown, A-Chain, or McConkey.
I would be. I mean, I'm not scared to compete. I would take CMC personally.
Yeah.
Let's go CMC.
I'm good going with that.
I mean, I've notably, with great success last year and with the opposite of success 2 years ago, I've taken 0 Christian McCaffrey for 2 straight years since he's been the 101. But now I get to go back to my roots of just drafting a shit ton of CMC when everybody else is fighting him for the injury concern. So all in on round 2 CMC.
Yeah, did I see something that he was getting stem cell treatment on his what was it, Achilles or it was Achilles, right?
That to be the case.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I forget who the fantasy injury guy that was talking about it, but it's like the same thing that Kittle had a bunch of injuries and he had the same thing. So I just think the upside is pretty crazy there in the second round. So yeah, that's really nice.
I mean, he might be RB1 and you're getting him second round. Why? Like people are just. I mean, the injury concerns are valid, but if he stays healthy, you're getting potentially RB1. So at this point, why not? You don't worry about the injury risk in this point of the draft.
Let's see what is going on. Any other weird starts here? We see not really. Ferris, can you pull up the board for us? Yeah.
Yeah, here you go.
We got T. Higgins pulled up in this early second. That's interesting. Puka AJ Brown is pretty fun.
Oh, we have a team that went Bowers McBride.
Oh shit, I completely missed that.
Bowers McBride. I was trying to talk up Team 10. I was like, what a sharp move. He's taking the tight end first. He knows all these wide receivers are the same tier. No, he is a dunk, I'm afraid. I love McBride too. Like I'm big fan of McBride at his ADP. I probably might even draft more of him than Bowers just because of the lower opportunity cost, but you can't be starting Bowers McBride in this. I mean,
then you're just hoping that one of them ends on your flex like all the time. What's the point of that? You're just losing that.
Yeah, and it also just like from a draft mechanics perspective, like I hate the idea of just making myself extremely inflexible immediately, right? Like if there's a tight end value that he likes, if there's a tight end that's stacked with a quarterback that he takes, he can't take them now. It's just so he also like has to now, like he's almost locked into going 0 RB because you have to get some level of wide receiver depth at some point.
Yeah.
So I just think you've sort of like predetermined how you're going to spend your next 4 picks to make this into an optimal draft. So I think that is bad, but all right. Okay, so that would have been probably
ADP, ADP wise, we're looking at Adams, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice.
I'm a never DJ Moore drafter. I'm fine with that.
I like Adams, yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Adams and T-Mac would be my favorites of the wide receiver. There's also a running back. There's 2 guys a little further down the queue that I'm very into with the next pick potentially, or one of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think we can play the ADP and see who falls to us because, yeah.
Yeah, I think playing the ADP game is it's fine to do that, unless you have someone that you really strongly prefer. I mean, Adams got
I put my guys in the private chat.
Okay. Okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah, you don't have to twist my arm for that as well. I think that's true. That's a good point. I think health-wise, he's looking pretty good.
What about police-wise? What's the situation?
I think the last I've heard is he's going to be fine for this year. But there's still question marks about.
Is he fine for this year again?
Yeah. I was reading.
The wheels of justice are not swift.
I've seen bullish stuff on both.
Okay.
The health,
So we're up. Tat is still here. Is that who you guys? Would you guys prefer him over the guys you listed?
I mean, Personally, I would still take Hall or Hunter, but I'm fine with Tet.
Okay.
I kind of prefer.
go-
You
let's
want to
go
go Hunter? Okay. That's
Yeah.
fine.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
You guys are more into ADP than I am. If it was my draft solo, I'm probably not. I think Adams is a totally fine pick. I'm probably taking Hall and Hunter at that 3-4 turn personally. I do sort of a thing where like my first 25 or so drafts, I just kind of say fuck ADP on guys that I have takes on, because in my view, it's like if I'm right, well, if I'm right and they're going to have great seasons, then I want to be overexposed to them anyway. So I may as well get my rips in. And if other people eventually agree with me, I'd rather have gotten my favorite guys at my best prices. If the prices don't move, then whatever. I'll just eventually back off. I'll start playing the ADP game in the midseason. But for me, early on in the process, my least favorite thing that I ever want to do is like play the ADP game, and then a month later, the ADP game is actually totally switched, and I just like forewent a guy who I like more, who now has a higher ADP. Now, I'm not saying you have to like Hall or Hunter more than Adams. Like, it's totally fine to prefer Adams straight up, but I would say that usually my first 25 or so drafts, I kind of just go straight off my field, my ranks, and then similar my last 25 drafts, and then it's that middle 100 where I'm a little bit more mindful of the ADP environment. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I know that's an interesting way to approach it. I think I'm a little bit more of a slave to ADP. So, but that I like that. I like that approach, because then you can always adjust in the middle. So,
Yeah, I think
it's mostly just because of that opportunity for the ADP to like meaningfully shift.
right. Yeah, in that case, I agree with you, Jacob. If you think it's going to shift, then you for sure can go with that.
And I'm not as much saying like I think it will shift always in my favor. It sometimes does. It often doesn't. But it's just like it doesn't really cost me anything if I like the players to have aggressive stances early, because I can always just back off later if the ADP doesn't move. But then it's like if the ADP does move, and say like, and Hunter in particular feels like a pretty volatile piece. Like it wouldn't shock me that much if Travis Hunter was like an early 3rd round pick in August. And if he is, then I'm like, great. I'm really glad that I took all those shares slightly ahead of his old ADP, but still behind his new ADP. And if it doesn't shift, then I'll be fine with it. But I still am ultimately going to want to be overexposed anyhow.
Yeah. Yep.
You guys got Nuggets or Clippers tonight?
Ooh.
I think Clippers.
Yeah, I feel like it's going 7.
Yeah, I think so.
I think Kawhi's going to put the team on his back.
Wow.
Jacob, what was happening? I wasn't paying attention. What was happening in that in the Pistons game?
Crazy game. The Knicks closed it out. They won by 2. They had a 7-point comeback in the last 2 minutes. Brunson hit an absolutely big shot with about 4 seconds left.
Damn. RIP to my Stones.
They
put up a good
we are up.
All right. I know my 2 are, but they're like the most beta pathetic possible players. So like,
who do you have? Because the clock's
like
pretty
Olave
fast.
and Waddle. Take whoever you want at the first one though.
Okay.
I also really like Harvey.
I kind of say we go Harvey. Or
I can queue him up. Let's see if it comes back.
We can also take a higher ADP running back if there's anyone you like. I like Harvey more than all these dudes, but I'm totally fine with like Chuba or Walker.
Yeah. There's a couple running. Yeah, I'm fine with any of those guys. I don't mind Addison either.
Yeah.
Gives us another.
I'm not as into Debo and Godwin, but Addison or Jennings would be fine with me. Laporta would also be fine with me.
Yeah, I think this point around this time I like going running back, like one of these running backs. That they're all pretty similar to me, but with our team built so far, I think this is a good point for us to do that.
Yeah, I don't think I've clicked Debo a single time. I can't.
Yeah,
I don't hate it, but it's just
for me.
No, I think it's just a crazy price. I don't get it. I'm gonna be honest.
Like he might be fine, but he looked washed last year.
All right, Harvey or Walker, dude.
I'm Team Harvey, but I'll have no objections if you guys prefer Walker.
Let's go Harvey. I think let's.
Ooh. Max
I'm
fun.
down.
Let's do it.
Let's have some fun.
Let's live a little.
Nice, David Kitchen in the chat.
He's a ball knower now. What are you talking about? All right, so we are through 6 rounds. We got CMC and RJ Harvey, so complete opposites. One old dusty guy and one still old but not as dusty guy. And then at receiver we have Neighbors, Devontae Adams, Travis Hunter, and Jalen Waddle. Yeah, this is fun start. I like it.
Let's if you guys, there's some crazy things happening in this draft, by the way. Like team 10 here went Bowers, McBride, Josh Allen, and then
Holy
Jaden
shit.
Daniels, which is just insanity. And
Yeah,
then
I mean,
team 4 over here went 4 straight running backs, and then George Kittle.
George Kittle.
I mean, at least like
This
at
is like
least
some fun. in this room.
everybody's clicking though, like off ADP. So it's not like any of these are gonna get thrown out or whatever. I mean, these are like red shields that are doing this too. Interesting strategy.
It's actually very interesting. I don't really know like the logic behind it, but
I mean, you can
No.
you can totally make the 104s start work.
the running backs are fine. Yeah, I can.
It's
I
like
am-
like you can like I wouldn't do it, but like you can definitely make it work if you just hammer wide receiver all the rest of the way and do whatever. I think that the
what about the 10? though?
4
Like,
straight onesie start is like
there's.
I'm not going to
there's
say
no way that's
dead, but I'm certainly going to say suboptimal.
It's pretty diabolical.
I've never seen it, so
There was a couple
Or B start is definitely like a doable start. It's just makes
this is what you'd see on like FFPC.
inflexible.
This is not something I usually see on here.
He took his TRT shots before starting the draft. We got a couple dynasty questions here. Derek says just trade the 101 and Leggett for the 105, 307 and Nico Collins. Is this super flex? Because that's I'm definitely down
100%
for that.
doing that.
Because Collins and 101 are pretty much not even, but pretty close, and then you're basically getting a free 105 there. So yeah, definitely down for that.
That's a big accept for me.
And then Jacob, Nick says, I've got a positional value question for a dynasty startup. Full PPR, tight end premium with 2 QB, so I'm assuming super flex. 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 3 flex. Does this make wide receiver more valuable? I'll throw that over to you.
Yeah, I mean, certainly relative to running back, it does. I mean, I would say it more so just makes running back less valuable, and then every other position slightly more valuable relative to running back. I mean, I'd be pretty into the tight ends on the basis of there being 3 flex spots and it being tight end premium also. I mean, that's a spot where you don't actually have to have that many running backs, wide receivers, only need to have 3 combined. I'd be probably pretty intrigued in a setup like that if the board fell to me to just like hammer a lot of tight ends and put yourself in a position to potentially flex multiple tight ends. Oh, all right.
Is there anything we can talk about?
Yikes.
Shakir, Reed, Burden. Any preferences?
I'd probably be Burden or Reed, and I like Hawkinson there too.
Let's go Burden.
Sure.
Yeah, I think with our team we can take that on, and then hope that he's used in the right way.
Yeah, I don't think we need to go quarterback yet.
No, yeah. It also sets us up for some
chances at some late
Burden.
ones. We have all of our quarterbacks all play late.
Yeah. That's why I think Burden is also a nice click there. It just gives us some option. I mean, Reed would do the same thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna have Jacob smoking another dart later with our third QB.
Yeah, we might.
We are not getting boxed out, right?
Yeah, I'm never doing that again. I have PTSD.
You don't like Sam Darnold QB1?
Oh, dude, my first BBM of the year. I wound up with something. I was like Anthony Richardson QB2 and like Jackson Dart QB3, just like hoping that AR can get me enough starts until he gets benched, and then Jackson Dart takes over as my QB2. Like just.
Oh, brother! Sounds like you had the exact same experience we did. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't even have like a particularly good QB1. My QB1 was like, I think it was probably Drake May, but like it's not like I had like a Joe Burrow or something.
All right, we're about to be up again. Pull up the board here. All right, anything you guys you like here?
No.
We could go Caleb.
We could go Caleb if we want.
Yeah, there's just I hate clicking like the 5th quarterback on the ADP board.
Or
but-
Downs.
Yeah, let's do Downs. Let's do Downs.
Yeah,
I don't
I know we're all down stands
it.
here, so that's
I hate it less than the alternatives.
The alternatives
We
are
just gotta pray
less.
for Dan. We just gotta pray for Dan Jones to play all 17 games.
Yeah, I
mean, Downs he had some good games with AR. Like he had some spike weeks. I think he had I think he actually didn't he have his best game with AR? I'm pretty sure he did.
Well, he had his best game in the game that they both played. He had his best game when AR played, got hurt in game, and then Flacco played the rest. And he got some production with AR, but then he also got a lot with Flacco afterwards.
I see.
I would do unspeakable things to get Josh Downs in a normal offense that passes the ball more than 25 times a game. I would just my dynasty shares.
One more year.
Screaming.
One more year, and that's what's likely going to happen.
Yeah,
just have to hope they select.
Couldn't the Colts have just traded a 3rd-round pick for Geno Smith, man? Like, I know that we would be going nowhere as a franchise, but like, we could have done that. We drafted the 194th player on the consensus big board with that pick. Like, I would rather just have Geno. That'd be fun. Then we could actually like run a real Shane Steichen offense. We have these 4 receivers. We have Warren. We'd spread it all around. We would have good times. We'd go 10-7. We'd lose in the wild card round, but everybody keeps their jobs. Like, don't you want that future, Shane? Don't you want that, Chris? I don't know.
Pretty sure they could have.
My fall would just be so much happier if we had Geno. Like, I don't want to watch another season of AR. I never want to watch Daniel Jones for my favorite team. That's like horrible.
Jacob, I have a question for you. I have a pretty big bag of Downs. Like, I think it's 25% or something. So I traded Downs straight up and took Burden at the 202 just because I wanted to balance my exposures a little bit. Where are you at on those two in terms of dynasty? Like, I think I view them pretty similarly. So I was just like, I had enough.
Downs and who? Sorry,
and Burden.
I would prefer Burden because the quarterback thing is already theoretically solved. I mean, Caleb was ass last year, so I shouldn't say solved, but like, it's easier to just picture Caleb makes the play good adjustment than, the Colts have to sift through this horrible season and then they eventually get somebody else and then that person's gonna be a pocket quarterback. It's just so I would take Burden solidly ahead of Downs, but I'm very pro Josh Downs, especially in real life. Like, the guy's a stud. He's a really good player. Yeah,
I just leaned rookie just for I just think he has higher upside based on that, and I just generally lean towards that. But I mean, I'm a huge Josh Downs guy as well, and I know Ferris is as well. We were battling it out in every startup for Downs.
This is a niche IRL football take, but the Tyler Warren pick is good for Josh Downs because Tyler Warren, I think in large part, was picked to give the Colts a reason to stay in 11 personnel all the time. Because now they can actually pass the ball or run the ball with just
all right, we're up. The guy just in front of us just took Caleb, so that's off the board.
Oh, what a little bitch.
Yeah,
learn Drake here. I don't mind May, and we can backstack or no. Loveland.
Yeah, I don't know.
Loveland. Let's do Loveland.
All right, that's a fun pick. I mean, let's just
we're not desperate for QBs right now. So
no, we're not.
We're the Bears are playing week 17. Can we guess?
Lions.
Yeah, it should be Lions or Packers. Honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's gonna be one of those teams.
Lions. All their.
It could be Vikings. I do think it's gonna be
our remaining quarterbacks. So Nix is now gone. Caleb's now gone. Okay.
Well,
so
we have Travis. We have Trevor.
We have an out with Trevor, but that would be the next. We have an out with Tua. That would also be later. Stafford's later.
Stafford.
Yeah.
AR and Jones are later.
This is how we get boxed out, guys. This is how we get boxed out.
Well, so yeah, I think I think that we have an option of just clicking Drake if we want to.
Yeah. Well, let's see who's here.
We could always tack on like a late Patriot, and he runs anyway, so I don't stress that much about having him pre-stacked.
Yeah. I mean, do you guys believe in any of these running backs? I kind of don't, to be honest. And
I guess like Charbonnet is kind of interesting if Walker was to get traded, but if he's just in Seattle, I think he's overpriced. I'm kind of into Warren. I probably like Tootin the most of the running.
I was gonna say I like Tootin. Yeah.
I mean, if we don't pick him here, we're probably not getting him. So
yeah, we're not.
I think we push quarterback.
Jacksonville. Let's do Tootin and let's box ourselves right out.
Well, I mean, there's like 6 quarterbacks here.
Let's have some fun.
Yeah, let's just dare the room to steal our quarterbacks.
I dare you guys to do it.
They're gonna do it.
You won't.
They're gonna do it.
Yeah. On the bright
Oh,
side, everyone tucked behind us went early quarterback, which means we're gonna get a quarterback to fall to us, and then I'm gonna be like, what if we pushed it an extra 6 picks? Because hold on. Jacob, give me the Jonathan Taylor bull case. I'd barely pick him. No. I mean, the Jonathan Taylor bull case is just that he's really good. I think still, especially when he's healthy, and they're going to run the ball really effectively. I mean, either Jones or A-Rich, they're going to be mobile. So, like you saw with Taylor, people were excited when Flacco started because people were like, "Oh, now he's going to get to catch passes." But they can't really run the ball with Flacco because they want to play at 11 because Josh Downs is their best pass catcher. They view him as a slot only player. So you have this issue where Josh Downs is not as a non-blocker as your F. And then when you play like a Flacco, obviously there's no rushing threat from the quarterback. So it's very easy for the defense to stop the run in an 11 personnel offense with Josh Flacco when your slot wide receiver is 175 pounds. Now they're going to have Jones or Richardson or Riley Leonard. So they're going to have a mobile quarterback this year no matter what. They're going to have Warren as a actual run blocking threat as an 11 personnel tight end. So I can give you like the real life case for why Taylor's going to have 5.2 yards per carry, but I can't figure out how to make his fantasy case because I just don't think they're going to be that good offensively. He's not going to catch passes. And they're going to have a lot of goal line carries for quarterbacks. So you have to hope that he just breaks off like 6 or 7 70+ yard touchdowns, I think is the case. But I think he's probably overvalued. I will still pick him on at least like 5% of my teams because I don't want to be watching Colts games and not like derive joy from Jonathan Taylor touchdowns. That would just make me really sad. So, but I don't recommend you do it. You don't have to be emotionally invested in Colts games this year. That's my burden.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. All right, so we're at 3 running backs. We got our tight ends. We can get 2 more late. So yeah, I think I know where we're going here, but still got a few picks.
Yeah, so in theory, can you go back to the big board view for a second?
Yeah.
So in theory, the guy immediately before us should not be taking any more quarterbacks this draft.
The guy after us took too early.
Yeah, the guys before us and after should not be taking quarterback.
In theory.
This guy takes Stroud. He should now be done quarterback. You can tell my brain is poisoned because as soon as I see May and Stroud, my first thought was, well, they both have week 14 buys, so he's going to need a third. But obviously,
we're coming up one pick. Let's see.
Okay, I think we hammer Lawrence here, right? I mean, we've got a double stack set up.
Yep.
After ADP.
Yeah.
Let's do that first.
It makes me kind of wish that we had gone Reed over Burden if we could use the time turner with Jordan Love just sitting there. But obviously, you never know. You never know how the draft's going to fall to you.
Yeah, I think that happened to us one of our other drafts as well, where Love just was free falling, like 10 or 15 picks past ADP.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I have a guy that I'd really like that you guys are gonna vomit when I say his name, but there's also a few other options that I think are interesting here.
Yeah, I think this is a decent range. I think we have options.
And like, are we really doing
Javonte?
No, I'm not doing Javonte.
No, I thought that's who you were questioning. I thought that's who you were questioning. Are we really doing Javonte?
I don't, maybe I'm just holding on to lost lovers, but like, I don't think Travis Etienne should be the 3rd Jacksonville Jaguars running back drafted. That seems bad. Okay, that was the guy. So the Ferg dog, who notably I wrote an entire piece about just being like the worst pick ever last year. Nothing has changed. He just got hurt last year, and then Dak.
All right,
he's still the number 2 guy.
Is there anyone else like here? Spears.
I don't mind Spears. I don't mind Bash or Knoll.
Let's go Spears. I think
Let's go Spears. Yeah.
let's just keep adding to our running back room.
Yeah. So like on Ferguson, he's like the classic example of like, yeah, he's probably just a guy. And last year, everybody was like, you have to draft him. He's the number 2 target on the Cowboys. You're going to pass so much. And I was like, yeah, I don't have to take him in the fucking 7th round, you hooligans.
Over Brock Bowers.
This year, he is still the number 2 target on the Cowboys. They're still going to pass a lot. Nothing changed. If anything, their skill players actually got worse this year than last year. And it's not like Ferguson gave us any reason to think he was any worse than we thought last year. Like he was actually fine to start the year. Then he got hurt, and then Dak got hurt, and then you're not going to do anything much with Cooper Rush. So like, if the people who were drafting Ferguson in the 7th last year that are now apparently drafting him in the 12th, like there's no reason for this outside of like, ugh. Like that's the only reason why
he burned me last year. Yeah.
Like he at this point, like I think he's like a screaming value.
Yeah, and you can get Dak goes so late too.
Well, I mean, that's what Fantasy Dog did. He had Hurts, and then he just paired Dak and Ferg on the turn here, which I like.
That's because he knows ball.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, what else is going on? Yeah, I mean, I still like Spears. I think Pollard is obviously like going to be the 1A, but we saw Spears, like he has elite contingent upside. So I think with the guys we took earlier, I like that.
Yeah, and they should be hopefully a better offense, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah, you'd hope for sure.
Tyler Lockett, wide receiver 2. No, I'm just kidding. It'll probably be what's his name? DK, the guy that's on every single league after the rookie draft finishes, that's at the top of the sleeper pickups.
Oh, the guy from Florida, Chimeri. I don't even know how to say his name.
Chimeri DK,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about him.
He was like, wasn't he like a 3rd round pick or something, or was it 4th round?
I think he was the very first pick of the 4th round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually don't know anything about him, and that's crazy because I play a bunch of C2C leagues.
Well, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, he just was not on my radar.
I think I saw like one, I don't know if it was a Senior Bowl clip or something, one clip, but that was the first time I had ever seen anything about him on Twitter or anything. So
I have a friend of mine went to Wisconsin, and I went and stayed at his place in Chicago once during the college football season, and we watched a Wisconsin game together. And I'd never heard of this guy, but I have like a visceral memory of him being wide open downfield and him going like DK, and then he like dropped the pass and he was like DK, and that's the only thing I know about this guy.
I'm glad you got to experience Wisconsin party, because I went up in the UP. I went to school in the UP, and I had a lot of friends from Wisconsin, and it's a crazy place.
Is the UP the Upper Peninsula of Michigan?
Yeah, so I'm from Metro Detroit.
Oh, let's fucking go! Look at this guy right
Yeah, I'm from Metro Detroit, but I played college football up in the UP with all the like Upers and Wisconsin people. So yeah. All right, we're back up on the clock.
I think we have a pretty clear cut.
Yeah, I think it's 2, right?
Yeah. Speaking of guys that I used to hate, but that I think are like totally good picks at their current value, would include Rachaad White, who like is back where I've always wanted Rachaad White to be, which is a backup who has very fantasy friendly traits where whenever he gets the starting job, if Bucky misses time, he becomes a really interesting play. Now, I guess you have to worry about Sean Tucker, but I do think he's a guy who's going to be a part of my drafts this year. He was not a part of my drafts last year, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a really good pick. He's a really good pick here. It's always about the price, not the right, like not the
exactly. Like there's a lot to like about it's. There's a lot to like about that profile when you can get it as like a 0 RB contingency play, and you're not actually betting on the talent; you're just betting on the skill set. But when that skill set then has to get priced into the talent, it's a tougher bet. But I'm very into like round 13, round 14. Shoddy. All right, so
We could go strange.
4-6-1. We could go strange. We could also go or no, we didn't end up taking Drake May. So
Yeah.
I like Ray Davis or Ray Davis, Strange. Let's see, is there anyone else here?
Yeah, I think those two are like it should be one of
I
those.
think
Jake-
those are probably the best. Yeah, I'm gonna go Ray Davis. I'm not quite as in. I was into Strange when he was like uber cheap when the contests were first dropping, and also before they just drafted Travis Hunter. Because now it's like, I just think Thomas and Hunter are gonna have like 55% of the targets, and there's not gonna be a whole lot for anybody else. I think he's gonna run a lot of routes though. So we're 2-5-6-1. What is this team to you guys? Is this like a 3-5-7-3 or is this a 2-5-8-3? What? We definitely got to go 3 tight end. I think with
I
Love.
think we could
Yeah.
go 2 QBs. Yeah.
Quarterbacks. We could go either way. I agree.
Yeah.
It's definitely 3 tight ends, though, I think.
Yeah, 3 tight ends.
Yeah.
Wide
So
receiver.
let's call this like a 2-5-7-3, and then the last pick could potentially be a wide receiver or a running back or a quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine
I agree.
with that.
Jacob, there was a guy from you. You went to UBC, right? Or is that where you went? Or
Yeah. I went to University of Manitoba for undergrad. I went to UBC for law school.
I was gonna say because there was a guy that got drafted to the Lions from UBC. Was it last year?
Last year. It was last year, which was crazy that happened. Yeah.
Just a huge offensive tackle, right? It was
Exactly.
It was crazy. I was at the gym like 2 minutes from my house and I see this huge guy, like massive. I'm like, he has to be an offensive tackle because like no one else is that big. And like, so I literally, I walk up to him. I'm just chatting him up. And I said, like, do you play football? What's going on? And he's like, yeah, like, I'm an offensive tackle and like the CFL draft is tomorrow and I'm hoping I get drafted. And I'm just like, holy shit, like this is crazy. So yeah, I don't think he got drafted, but shout out to that guy.
The most consequential pick for the CFL was I forget which team did it, but some team took Curtis Rourke in the 7th, and he's Canadian. The CFL draft you could only draft Canadian players in the CFL draft. All imports are drafted or just signed. Curtis Rourke, if he didn't get drafted by the NFL, would have been instantly the first overall pick in the CFL draft by a mile. But he winds up getting drafted. So someone team is still going to probably draft his negotiation rights, but that was very consequential to the CFL landscape.
Nice. Yeah, no, I don't know that much about the CFL. It's honestly sad living in Toronto because like not that many people care about football. Like it's like
nobody gives a shit about the Argonauts.
Yeah, like
the Grey Cup and nobody cares.
I mean, Shanahan drafted him, right? He's on the 49ers.
Is that where he went? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Which is like funny because when I was thinking of Curtis Rourke, I'm like, this guy kind of looks like another Purdy. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, he went to an I-state school. All right, we're back on the clock. What do we got in the queue here for us? Probably need a wide receiver. Do we want to?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a line here?
What's that? Yeah. let's hit that line.
Yeah.
I need to get a Coker clip in here.
For the record, if anyone's wondering in the chat, I was willing to smoke the dart for Jackson Dart. I'm not gonna do a line of Coke live on stream for John Coker. It's not gonna happen.
Too bad there's not a shroom player because shrooms are legal in Canada. So
yeah. If we get like a dude named Doobie or we get like a guy named Shroom, I'll do that live on stream, but we're not getting any live cocaine on stream. So now we need 2 tight ends with our last 3 picks and then 1 whatever pick. So maybe can you pull up the tight end tab?
Yeah.
See what's cooking over there.
I think I see a duck-footed guy I like.
I think we can probably quack a little later.
Yeah. We can.
I don't mind I don't mind the top of the queue. I mean, I don't like him at all as a prospect, but like, there's no one else there, and he's gonna run a lot of routes. I also like the second guy.
Stone Smart Erasure. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you want to go Taylor? I'm done with that.
What do you guys prefer, Taylor or Schultz? I mean, they're both whatever.
Let's just
Taylor's
go.
probably higher upside, and he's
Yeah,
gonna
let's
start.
go-
I think.
Let's go Taylor.
I mean, who else do they have there? Like they have
No,
Garrett
they don't
Wilson
have
and
any
nothing
receivers.
else. So
Rock-
Garrett Wilson, and then it's wide open to be the number 2.
yeah,
The worst wide receiver in the league, Malachi Corley.
Yeah, he's a future Toronto Argonaut for sure. All right, I'm gonna be right back.
Sounds good. So Ferris, how are your rookie drafts going? I know we're in I'm like in 12 right now, and I think I've finished like 2 or 3. But how are you feeling overall, like with your haul so far?
yeah. Nope. I'm pretty good, honestly. I think I've been able to get a bunch of Travis Hunter, which was my plan going in, and I got a bunch of them pre NFL draft, but getting them in my normal leagues has been nice too. Otherwise, besides that, getting the tight ends, getting a bunch of Loveland, getting mixed, and then the other guys I'm just mixing here and there, right? I think my overall profile is pretty balanced. Besides just being super overweight on Hunter,
Nice,
slightly overweight on Loveland, and then the other guys kind of just mixing it. Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you have as many leagues as we do. You're just trying to get that portfolio to look pretty balanced. Besides, some of the guys that you're overweight on.
Yeah, honestly, it's very freeing to be in so many leagues because you just if you miss out on a guy, you don't really care. So it's just
it doesn't ruin your day.
I'll get him in the next one. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I got Jack Bash at 305 or something. So that was probably the highlight so far for me. I'm trying to think.
Do you have anything I'll say one thing. I think I was not going into rookie drafts planning to be taking a bunch of Ferguson and Arroyo and Fannin and the tight ends, right? Those guys. But I'm just ending up with a bunch of them because they're all just falling to round 3. And I as you've seen in some of our leagues, I have I try to get as many late seconds, thirds, and fourths as possible, just so I can get a bunch of rookies. And those tight ends are just falling into the 3rd round, and I'm just taking them as
great.
Yeah, and the running backs, it's I think I like who's the guy, Jarquez Hunter. I like him. There's a couple other guys, Sampson, but then after that, it's just some of the guys will go undrafted, and some of the guys there's such a big range of where they go. So I'm willing to just take those tight ends, and then a lot of times you can get some of those guys off waivers or in the late 4th or whatever. So I think that's a good move. Definitely agree with
Agreed.
that.
There's a massive range of those running backs. It's pretty flat. They don't always go in the same order. So to me, yeah, I'd rather use one of my 3rd round picks on a Fannin and then just come back in the 4th and grab whatever running back remains. It's if I miss out on Samson, but then I just get DJ Giddens, it's who cares? It's the same bet. So
yeah.
Fannin's probably my most drafted player. He's gonna wind up being my most drafted player in rookie drafts, I think.
I mean, he's a great pick in the 3rd. And you can get him there pretty much every time. So
yeah.
Are we doing a 3 rookie tight end team? Are we gonna feed the Ducks?
I mean, here, let me pull up the ADP of what we have here, what we're looking at. I mean, it's either go that, or we're taking one of the boring guys like Juwan Johnson.
Yeah,
let's just go find
let's slap it up.
I'm fine with that.
Look, we're drafting May 1st. It's slappy season. We're slapping it. The only other guy I'd even consider would honestly be the other rookie, would have been Terrence Ferguson. So
yeah, and then for that, now we have to. Our last pick will be.
So
Dart went. So I think the QB is.
Let's look at
quarterbacks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oof.
I don't want any of those guys.
Yeah. So wide receivers. Let's take a look at the zoomed out wide receiver world here.
Yeah.
That's also kind of gross.
Yeah.
Running back.
I mean, running backs. There's a lot of guys I like.
Yeah, there's a lot of running backs.
I like Quez.
I mean, I like Hunter. I like Shipley. I think Shipley has he's just a clear RB2 there. Why? I think he's just a free click at this point.
Yeah, I'm good. Let's ship it.
Yeah. Do you have a preference over Shipley or Jarquez?
Probably like Hunter a little bit more, but I'm happy to do Shipley here. Can I also throw out thoughts on Kareem Hunt?
I don't mind that. Let's go Shipley.
Yeah. Okay.
Kareem Hunt. My thoughts are I would rather have like Brashard Smith than Kareem Hunt. That's my honest opinion. Like I think Brashard Smith is probably more of a specialist, but I'm just gonna bet on that guy over Kareem Hunt at this point.
Emo
I guess
Cowboy.
I
Sorry, go
understand why this is the case, but I will just say, after the draft, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Pacheco saved!" You know, like we gotta draft Pacheco before his ADP rises. It's like, is it impossible that the guy who was just clearly their lead running back throughout the playoffs is actually the better pick than Pacheco? Like, I'm not saying it's likely. I get it. Kareem Hunt's dusty, he sucks, but he was like pretty decidedly ahead of Pacheco when all the chips were down last season. Maybe that's just because of the injury, but I don't know. Maybe he never recovers. I think he's worth mixing in, but yeah, I agree. Nothing wrong with Will.
Yeah,
Will
I will say I think Elijah Mitchell is like the worst pick, like the worst last pick.
I don't think Elijah. I think Elijah Mitchell is like a pretty significant dog to make the team.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah,
I think it's Pacheco's on the team. I think Hunt is clearly on the team. And I think the third spot will be one of Mitchell or Smith.
yeah, and
I would
I think
give it
I
Smith.
think it's probably Smith because he's like kind of like the Jerick McKinnon type player for their offense. That's how I see him.
Yeah, I would
so.
say it's like a 75% chance to me that their three active running backs week one are Pacheco, Hunt, Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back. Live results.
Let's run through this boy really quick.
Yeah, pull it up.
All right, so we have T-Law stacked up with Hunter and Tootin. We got Tua and Waddle. We got CMC, RJ Harvey, Bashal Tootin, Ty J. Spears, Ray Davis, Will Shipley. So a very slappy running back room. Malik Neighbors, Devontae Adams, Travis Hunter, Jalen Waddle, Luther Burden.
Adams is like 10 years older than anyone else on this team.
Yeah.
Hey, we need a chaperone, right? That's what they call it. That's what the kids call it these days.
Presence.
We got all of our favorite wide receiver on this stream, Josh Downs, and then finished it off with a line of Coke. And then at tight end, we have Colston Loveland, top 10 pick, Mason Taylor, and Harold Fannin, a triple rookie tight end room.
It's the slappiest tight end room imaginable.
But yeah, no. How do you guys feel about that team? What's your rating out of F to A? I think it's like a
fun draft.
I think it's like a B plus ish.
That's it. It's like a B plus. It's balanced, fun players.
Got
I mean,
some
I
stacks.
think it's like probably not advisable to have 3 rookie tight ends.
Yeah,
But,
Jacob, I do want to ask
honest.
have your thoughts about Fannin changed after the landing spot in the draft? Because actually, I think mine have. But I'm curious to get what your take is because I know you were like pretty out on him just because you weren't certain about the role. But like, where are you? You said he's your most drafted like
yeah,
now, right? So
I mean, I was out on him because I thought I was gonna have to click this guy in like the early 2 because when I was out on him it was pre-40, and it was like at a time where like I was seeing people in my circle be like, "Is he the tight end 1?" And I was like, "What?" And it was like people were kind of treating it like it was a tier of 3 at the top and stuff like that. So I was just very out on him at what I thought his cost was going to be. Obviously, it's not at all his cost. He goes in the 3rd round of rookie drafts. So, again, like base case, I don't think he can play tight end in the NFL. I think he's too small. So I think he's going to have to play slot receiver. And I don't think he is actually that elite of an NFL slot receiver. He runs a 4.7. A lot of his production in college came from the Y, which is a position I don't think he'll be able to play in the NFL. So my base case thoughts haven't totally changed. But I like the landing spot because Stefanski's a guy who likes to use 12 and 21 personnel. So I think he'll have a legitimate role playing as a second tight end, maybe even sometimes lining up as an H-back or a fullback. I think they'll use him well. And I also think it's just like in the 3rd round of rookie drafts, if you want to take a free dart throw at a guy who is like potentially the most productive tight end in basically history, then it's like every single time I'm gonna throw that dart. So I'm not that changed on like him, but I do like the fit and I love the cost.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I think honestly, I actually with Elijah Moore out of there, and I'm not really certain who their slot guy is. I actually think they might use him as a slot. Like that's I don't think long term that's the solution for them, but I mean, his ability as like I would say from the slot, even though he doesn't have like the super high athleticism, he actually does have like pretty good agility scores. So I do think he can work out of the slot, and he is a savvy route runner. So if that somehow does translate, I think he could stick around in there as our slot for some period of time. So that's made me a
Yeah, I
lot
mean,
more
my
bullish.
argument was like I don't think it was a wise round 3 pick personally, because I feel like you can kind of just get like
Yeah, not for an NFL team.
functionally 90% of what Fannin provides from Xavier Restrepo, who went undrafted. No, I because like I don't really think you can play Fannin at Y. So if you're detaching him, it's like, okay, yes, like I understand these things aren't that binary. Like Fannin as the 7th guy on the line is gonna be a more impactful blocker than most slot receivers are. But from like a how do you deploy this player standpoint, I think ultimately, if you want to make him a full-time player, you deploy him not that dissimilarly than a Xavier Restrepo. And it's like, do I actually think he's like a 4 rounds better slot receiver than Restrepo? Like, not really. But like teams love taking these move tight ends. So I don't know. At the end of the day, he's like a free upside bet, super productive. I'm drafting the crap out of him, so I'm in.
If he like hits, are you just gonna sell him? Like, what is your how would you view him as an
It depends
asset?
on how he hits. Like if he hits in a way that makes me rethink who he is, then I'm gonna keep him. If he hits in a way that I think is like very situation driven, or in a way that I think is like not good for his real life team, like let's say like a way that I would sell him, for instance, like let's say David Njoku gets hurt, and so Fannin winds up playing Y a lot, and he's getting bludgeoned as a blocker, but the team just decides like whatever, we don't have another tight end, so we'll just play Fannin as our Y tight end, and we'll run the ball worse, but we'll pass the ball better. And then he racks up a bunch of points, which I think he would if he played Y. I would probably sell that because I would say like I don't think it's actually sustainable for him to play long term Y tight end in the NFL, and that's how he's racking up all these points. If he succeeds as a slot wide receiver next to Njoku, I'm in on that because I think that's his actual path to long term sustainable production. Or if he somehow plays Y and he just blocks way better than I think he's capable of, then I will totally pivot my stance. But I would say that's kind of the specific way that I would fade it, is if like somehow he winds up playing Y, getting a bunch of receiving production, but in a way that I don't think he's going to be able to maintain that same role long term because of his blocking limitations.
Yeah, I don't have like a strong stance on his blocking because there's some people who just don't think he can, and there's others who have made the argument. I've seen at least they presented to me some metrics and some argument that he actually is not that bad.
I think
as a
that the
blocker,
can
so-
can't. I think that the can't is like a bad way of putting it. The metric stuff I put zero stock in because
Yeah, I don't know how they measure that stuff either.
it's not about like you get graded on the blocks that you're asked to make. So like I think he is a fine blocker in the sense that like he's not like Kyle Pitts like doesn't want to block. Fannin is not like scared to compete. Like he's a willing blocker. He tries. He's just really physically limited. He weighted at 241. I don't think he plays at that. I think he probably plays closer to 230 and then probably runs closer to 4.6. But I think he was more concerned about getting his weight up than getting his speed up at the combine. So, like, do I think he can be an insert blocker? Yes. I think he can play off. I think he can play as the second tight end attached to the line and block linebackers. And I think he can play as a slot wide receiver and block linebackers and nickels. 100%. I don't think that he can attach to the line of scrimmage. And then if the team blitzes and you have to slide protections. So I'm going to try to like de-nerdify this for people in the comments. When you're set up with a tight end at the Y, and when I say Y, I mean like you are the tight end that is directly attached to the line of scrimmage. And I understand that people always bring up the point of like, well, how often are you actually blocking? A lot of times you don't know if you're blocking or not when the play starts because you don't know what the defense is going to line up. So let's say Fannin is lined up as the Y tight end. He's attached to the line of scrimmage in 11 personnel. So you have 3 wide receivers. Fannin's on the line as the Y. You have 1 running back and the quarterback. The defense looks like they're going to bring 0. They're lined up to bring 6 blitzers or more. At this point in time, you probably have to slide protection, meaning your tackle and your guard are now probably going to be assigned to block blitzing linebackers. which means your tight end now, who's Harold Fannin, has to block an NFL defensive end. That's not a block that I think he can handle at all in the NFL. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. But you can't play a guy at Y consistently if that's going to be a thing that he's going to be asked to do outside of maybe on 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 12s, and everybody knows you're using all your eligibles anyways. Because if you actually give that look, you can't have a run game because he's going to have to block defensive ends in the run game if he does that. And then even in passing situations, teams I think are just going to zero you. You get in 3rd and 10 with Fannin lined up there, teams are just going to zero you. They're going to make you check the ball down and punt it on 4th and 4. So I just think it's not about can block, can't block. It's about what kind of blocks can he and can't he make. And I think that where you want to use him is as an insert blocker. So you want to use him off the line of scrimmage, blocking linebackers. You want to use him as a fullback, blocking linebackers. That to me is where he can actually play. And so that's the limitation that I see. So I just don't think that like stuff like PFF metrics tell you all that much because you're generally going to be citing him on blocks that he's not really asked to make because teammates kind of already know his limitations. Like at the Senior Bowl, he didn't block in line ever because coaches knew
he's just not big enough. He's not big enough to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's like way too in the weeds, but that's why just like the idea of like he can't block, he can block. It's like, well, it's not quite that simple. It's like, can you block as a Y or can you block as an F? I think he can block as an F.
Yeah, I think this archetype, like this is like something that I would say like 3 years ago, like this is a player I would have just been clicking and probably would have been a bad click if he actually went a lot earlier than he did. Just because like I think once you understand how teams utilize these kind of tight ends, and we actually had a great case with like Dulcich, right? Like everyone was super in on him, we were hyped, but we didn't actually like understand like the limitation of this kind of player. And now that I think maybe we have a better understanding of how tight ends are used, and I would like to think there's more coaches that are properly using these players and their offenses are evolving compared to maybe some of these archaic ones. It's maybe a lot more cautious about like this.
The Dulcich came at like the wrong time because there was a time in the NFL when every team was just playing 4 down and they were playing these really light defensive ends. And basically teams were just like, well, we should just pass all the time. And so you could get away with at that point in time playing a Gesicki as a tight end, a Dulcich as a tight end, one of these guys. And that's where you sort of saw like guys like Dalton Kincaid, guys like Kyle Pitts got drafted really highly. And then all of a sudden, right after they get drafted, there's kind of a new NFL meta
shift. Yeah.
And like you look at a Dalton Kincaid, he's an example of a guy where, and this is why I'm into the slot for Cleveland, even though Njoku's there. People think that a lot of people think Dalton Kincaid's problem is Dawson Knox, and I think that's incorrect. Dalton Kincaid's real problem is Khalil Shakir. I think when they drafted him, they didn't know what they had in Shakir. And then after drafting him, they were like, well, their plan was, and this is what they actually did when at the very beginning of Kincaid's rookie season, was they're like, we'll play base 12 personnel offense. We're going to be heavy. We're going to play Kincaid effectively as a slot wide receiver. And eventually they were like, actually, we can just play Khalil Shakir as a slot wide receiver because he's a better receiver to Kincaid by a wider amount than Kincaid is a superior blocker. And they're both effectively performing the same role in the offense from a deployment standpoint. And so in Cleveland, yes, Fannin is not going to be as good of a Y tight end as Njoku, but I don't think he could play Y at all. Like I think even if he was on a team and the tight end was Chris Manhurst, I don't think he's playing at the Y. So the question is this a team that can accommodate him to play off the line? And that might be yes, because they don't really have an obvious answer as a slot wide receiver that's any good. So that's much more interesting to me. And I like the Cleveland landing spot for that reason.
Well, guys, that's why you came here, is to get the deep dive into Harold Fannin, and I said it with all seriousness. Like you guys are very deep in the weeds in this stuff, and I think that's you're not getting there anywhere else. And if you want more of like very in-depth strategy, kind of whether it's Dynasty or Bestball, like I said before, be sure to go check out Jakob's Substack, Thinking About Thinking. Link is down below. And Ferris is definitely a ball knower as well. Go follow him on X. I have his X down below, and he'll be hopping on with me probably around once a week, whether to draft a best ball team or to talk Dynasty, go through strategy takes. We will be doing that all summer. Anything else you guys want to cover before we head out of here?
I really want to quickly answer Fantasy Dog's question,
Sure.
which is, what is the why? Is it a slot? Yes and no, but in the like McVayification of offensive terminology, the Y is typically the inline tight end, and then the slot is typically the F, and you could either have an F wide receiver or an F tight end. So in a 12 personnel offense, the F would be a tight end, and in an 11 personnel setup, the F would be the wide receiver. And like specifically when we talk about F wide receivers, usually we're also talking about not just the deployment position, but like a kind of mold of wide receiver that is like this wide receiver tight end hybrid. So you think of 10 years ago, if you think of like the platonic ideal of a slot receiver, it looked like Wes Welker, these like sort of short little jitterbugs. And there's a couple of those left, like Josh Downs being one. But what you're seeing more and more now is these what are referred to as F wide receivers, which are bigger slot wide receivers who can actually impact the run game. So you think of like a Cooper Kupp, you think of a Chris Godwin, you think of even a Drake London, and it's just a different brand of these receivers who can play inside, who can play outside. You know, they're big enough to play outside to handle press coverage, but they're also big enough to insert into the run game in these bunch formations. So anyway, that's a little bit of the NFL deep dive. But.
Nice. Wait, actually, we had someone asking for a sauce, so why don't we sauce CLN's team here in the 2 spot?
Sure.
Let's see. Do you want to? Can you pull up his team, Ferris?
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier to do it that way. Let's see.
I got it.
All right. So, Jacob, why don't we have you sauce this boy really quick?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think it's worth saucing because I think clearly this is wait, sorry, which team are we saucing exactly? Is this the
this team right here?
Right here.
Oh, I thought we were gonna sauce the double tight end, double quarterback.
Oh no.
that team is a sauces against.
I had a whole
no sauce.
Okay. We're saucing
Lost
this team. Okay. I don't have anything prepared then. I'm going live off the fly. Okay. I mean, first of all, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy, Sam Darnold. Let's just say they have a tie at quarterback.
Exciting whites.
So, you want to have correlated bets in best ball, right? So it seems kind of uncorrelated to pick both JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold, given that you're betting on the environment propping up Sam Darnold last year as your reason why this quarterback has never attempted a pass before and JJ McCarthy can succeed. But then you're also trying to true Sam Darnold. So talking out of both sides of your mouth on that one. Tyrone Tracy, I mean, dude, like, have you never heard of Cam Scatabo? Contact downs for days, dogs for days. Tyrone Tracy Jr. learned the bench, buddy. Trey Benson, Marshawn Lloyd. Some people like running backs who actually get touches. Other people don't. They're looking for the next Keyshawn Vaughn. So I think he's got that. Wide receivers is interesting because best ball's a half PPR game, right? So typically you want wide receivers who try to run down the field, but then he's drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little beta slot wide receivers. So he probably has a misunderstanding on the scoring format. And that's unfortunate. And then, you look down at like David Njoku, Jawan Johnson, right? I think the tight end position, again, it's half PPR site. You want to be scoring touchdowns at the tight end position. So you probably don't want to be taking tight ends that are attached to Dylan Gabriel and Tyler Shuck. But again, like, that's just an issue of the format, and he probably wasn't aware of that. So I don't want to knock him too hard.
Well, that was beautiful. And then Fantasy Dog gave out a few membies, so let me go through his as well. I think one last one before I let you guys get out of here.
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
When I sauced the last one.
Yeah, you want to do this one?
You can take it. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, we got.
All right.
Jalen Hurts, the tush push is going to be banned, so he's going to be a 10th round pick. So no reason to take him there. And then we got Dak stacked up with, I remember this was the Ferguson team, right? If I'm not.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, anytime you can pair up tight end with a QB, I actually don't mind that, especially at that cost. So don't mind that. Alvin Kamara is going to get cucked by Devin Neal, so I'm not sure why you picked that guy. James Conner, actually perfectly cromulent pick there. Ramondre Stevenson.
Not really tossing that hard, brother. You're complimenting his team.
Ramondre Stevenson.
We got to make this a little bit more dramatic. Come on.
Okay. Ramondre Stevenson is going to get cut. Antonio Gibson is going to be the RB2 there, so no point. Brashard Smith, Elijah Mitchell is still better than him. He's a 7th round pick, so waste of a roster spot. And then Roshan Johnson hasn't done anything except for score like 1 touchdown 2 years ago, so not looking too sexy there. Nico Collins, his hamstring is just made of jelly. So you might get a couple games out of him, but nothing too great. Amon-Ra was purely dependent on Ben Johnson and to get schemed touches to him and to draw everything up. So, not going to be the same guy he was. DJ Moore is just giving no effort at all. And I think Luther Burden is going to cuck him. Rashid Shaheed tore his ACL. Josh Palmer,
It's Josh Palmer. You don't have to say
Josh Palmer.
Enough said about Josh Palmer.
Adam Thielen should be in a retirement home. Darius Slayton, the third wide receiver, he got doubled up in targets by Wan'Dale Robinson, so that's never a good sign. And then Kevontae Turpin, I think he's going to be playing in the UFL. You
can take the wide receiver 5 on the Dallas Cowboys to get that stack. You got to do it.
And then Jonnu Smith, his production was purely based off the fact that they had no O-line and he was just getting dump offs. Mark Andrews is going to get cucked by Isaiah Likely, who clearly has more juice than him at this stage in his career. And Jake Ferguson just got engaged to a TikTok star, so it's all downhill from here.
Jake Ferguson is getting replaced by Schumacher at some point. Let's be honest.
Jake Ferguson got engaged to a TikTok star?
I'm pretty sure he was dating what's it called, one of the Cavender twins, one of those basketball players from Miami. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that.
Wow, that's funny. Yeah, he is Haley Cavender. So just want to give my best wishes to the Ferg daddy. Yeah, way to go, locking it down.
He's not going to have to work as hard now because he's got all that TikTok money coming in. So
there's one thing I really hate about this. I'm looking now at the photos of their engagement, and I wish them lifetime of happiness. But like, he gets down on one knee on this big white sand beach that is like lined up with just rows and rows of flowers, and she's like looking all surprised. And it's like, girl, you are not surprised. Like, you walked on the fucking beach that just rented out like enough flowers to ruin the water supply of California, and you're like trying to be fake surprised that you're getting proposed to. Get the fuck out of here. I know that you already planned it. You picked out the flowers. I guess I'm just saucing Jake Ferguson's fiance more than I'm saucing Fantasy Dog's team. But there's easily in my top 5 tilting things is like a clearly pre-planned engagement where people post online that they're pretending to be surprised during. You can be happy. You can be in love. Don't try to insult my intelligence by acting surprised.
Yeah, that's and it's he's
what?
I was gonna say no. He's I don't even know what to say to that. That's I never thought I would get that question. I'm going to be completely honest. Thank you so much for hopping on, guys. It was great talking ball with you. We'll have to have you on during another time during hot best ball summer to get your takes, Jacob. But yeah, go sub to his Substack. Like I said, one of the best bang for your bucks across all of fantasy football content, I would say. And be sure to check him out on Chip Chasing and Ferris and I will be here pretty much every week, giving you the content you are looking for. So thanks so much, guys.
Appreciate it, boys. See you soon.
Thanks for having me on. Later.
Adios.